Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto was born as a devil and becomes leader of Devil's High School DxD part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. In a small mansion, you can hear the screams of a beautiful blonde-haired woman as she gives birth, with a female doctor assisting in the childbirth and her husband, a dark-haired man with a strong build, at her side. Ouch. Ouch. Get it out of me. The woman shrieked. Oh honey, you're doing great, the dark-haired man said. Screw you, bastard, you did this to me, the woman retorted. The dark-haired man flinched back and replied, but dear, you were the one who wanted to have children. The woman glared at her husband and demanded, will you please just shut up? As she let out another yelp of pain. The baby is almost here, exclaimed the doctor. The woman gave one final hard push and soon the sound of a crying baby filled the room. The doctor announced to the new parents, it's a healthy baby boy, Lady Isha. After examining the baby, she handed him over to the new mother and left the room to give the new parents some privacy. The new mother looked at her baby and saw that he had blonde hair, just like her own, and blue eyes, just like her husband's. So, what are we going to name him? Asked the husband. Naruto, she replied. His name is after a hero from a book that I once read. Naruto, are you sure it's not because of your addiction to ramen? The man joked. The woman punched her husband in the stomach, causing him to double over as she continued playing with their son. I can't believe I am married to a moron, the woman muttered to herself. Get up off the ground, Damien, and come hold your son, Lady Isha said to her husband in a commanding voice. The now identified Lord Damien was by her side in an instant, holding his son gently and whispering, well my little devil, may you live a long and happy life. He said with a smile. 5 years later, a naked blonde boy could be seen running away from his personal maid named Mio, who is an attractive retard with a large bust. Come back here right now Naruto Satanchia and take your bath, she shouted. No way. You'll have to catch me first, the blonde yelled back at her while laughing. The blonde boy continued to run until he ran into something and fell backward. When he looked up, he found his mother standing there with a scary look on her face. Naruto Soul Satanchia, what have I told you about running around the house naked and giving Mio so much trouble, she said in a calm voice. The blonde gulped and replied, not to. Then she gave a weak smile. She kept on staring at him before sighing. By this time, Mio had already arrived and gave a deep bow, Lady Isha, I'm so sorry for the trouble. Lady Isha gave Mio a small smile and said, there is no need to apologize. I know what kind of trouble my son can get into. Don't worry about giving him a bath. Lady Isha? Mio asked, confused. She declared, I am going to give him his bath. Mom? Naruto yelled, mortified that his mother was going to give him the bath instead of Mio. 10 minutes later, Lady Isha was seen washing her son's hair with only a towel on. The bathroom itself was massive enough to fit 2 of the maids' quarters, Naruto noted as he had spied on the maids and snuck into their rooms before to pull pranks on them. As a member of the Satanchia clan, Naruto, you must be more aware than most about what you do because it will reflect upon the clan. We are one of the devil clans and serve Lucifer directly. She lectures. Yes, you've told me hundreds of times, the blonde grumbled. The Lady Isha smiled then said, if you promise to behave and focus on your studies, I will teach you how to use our clan's powers. Really? You mean it? The blonde asked, having been trying to get his mother and father to teach him about the clan abilities since he learned of what they could do. Do we have a deal? She replied. Yes. He said excitedly, jumping up to give him a hug. You will have to show me that you are going to keep your word. For the next week, I want you to be on your best behavior, and if I hear you are giving any trouble, the deal is off, the blonde's mother stated. 1 week later, Naruto is standing in front of his mother and father in a training area far outside their mansion. Now do you know of our clan's abilities, my son? Lord Damien asked. Yes, we of the Satanchia clan possess the power of darkness, the blonde replied. You are almost right, but not completely so. We of the Satanchia clan possess the powers of darkness and divination. The dark-haired man replied. The blonde boy just stared at his parents with a blank look of confusion. Divination? He asked. His mother continued, yes, the power of divination is the power to read the past, present and future to help with a problem hand. Seeing that you are still confused, your mother took pity on you. Just think of it as an ability to predict your opponent's moves before they make it. Our clan abilities are much more than that, Lord Damien grumbled. Lady Isha ignored her husband and continued, for now think of it as a power to predict your opponent's next move and any weaknesses they may have. She simplified it for her fellow blonde. Okay, I think I understand that, her son replied. Right now the clan also has the ability to create and manipulate darkness in as many ways that you can imagine. She continued. That's so cool, the blonde enthusiastically exclaimed. Good, the blonde woman said, now I'm going to teach you how to feel your demonic energy and draw it out. Close your eyes and focus on your stomach, you should feel an energy that is like oil, grab onto it and shape it into a shield around you. Naruto sat down on the ground and followed his mother's instructions. Minutes passed by without anything happening until a black aura that looked like spilled ink started to leak out of him. Slowly, the aura began to surround him. It seems like you inherited the power of darkness and it is strong in you, just as it was for me. Your mother was the opposite, she inherited the power of divination. Your mother and I are cousins. We were placed in an arranged marriage because we both have one of our clan's most famous powers. Lord Damien said. Without warning, Lord Damien fired a magic bullet from behind his son's head. The blonde tilted his head to the right, dodging the spell, and it exploded against the side of the training yard. What the hell, Dad? Are you trying to kill me? The blonde boy yelled. Lord Damien ignored the blonde and said to himself, interesting, you seem to have inherited the power of divination from your mother. Also, with that, you may be able to one day influence fate. He whispered. His monologue was interrupted when Lady Isha, who looked pissed off due to your father's sudden attack, buried his head 5 feet in the ground with one strong punch. You idiot, what were you thinking? If he hadn't dodged the attack, he would have been seriously hurt, she screamed at the moron. I'm sure he would have been fine, he stated. This only angered his wife more, she punched him in the gut once again and grabbed their son's hand, leading him back home. 2 years later, after unlocking his demonic powers, Naruto was trained by his mother and sometimes his father. After his mother chewed Damien out for doing something so dangerous, Naruto made significant progress in understanding the power of darkness. He could create beams and balls of pure darkness. He also made some progress with his power of divination. He could predict a few seconds into the future during a fight, but this ability was useless against faster opponents. Additionally, he was taught basic devil magic, such as teleportation and hypnosis. His parents decided that he was ready to get his own familiar. So, they arranged for him to go to the familiar forest with his personal maid, Mio, because they were too busy. Hey Mio, are you ready to go? The blonde asked his maid. Yes, young master, Mio replied. I have prepared a magic circle to take us to our familiar forest. Then let's go, the boy shouted excitedly. The teleportation circle glowed beneath them and the next instant they found themselves in a dark forest. They heard a sound and turned to find an old man wearing short pants and a sleeveless shirt. Hi, he said. I'm the familiar master, Lord Satantia contacted me in advance to help you get a familiar. By the way, my name is Norman. There are all kinds of familiars in this forest, from mighty dragons to weak slimes, so, what kind of familiar are you looking for? Norman asked looking at the blonde and his maid with curiosity. I want a 9-headed hydra that can help me in battle and complement my power of darkness, offense abilities with its poison and high-speed regeneration, Naruto answered. Young Lord Satantia, I would highly suggest against going after a hydra, they are known to attack the people they make contracts with and are generally hard to handle. He warned while sweating at the thought of going near a hydra. Maybe you can choose something else, young master. I don't like the idea of putting you in danger, Mio pleaded as she looked at the young lord with caring eyes. So if you feel that strongly against it, I won't go looking for a hydra, Naruto said sadly, but now I don't know what I want to get. Norman, who was more relaxed, said, well, if you don't know what you want to get, we can walk through the forest and see what catches your interest. Okay, let's go, Naruto said excitedly to find a familiar. The trio made their way through the forest, seeing many different familiars, but none really caught the blonde's attention, except for a small blue slime that managed to sneak up on Mio and enter her maid uniform. Mio had to release her demonic aura to destroy the slime, but in doing so, she also destroyed her clothes, leaving her naked. This led to Mio having a full body blush of embarrassment. After Mio created a new uniform with magic, the trio continued on until they heard growling. They followed the sound to find a purple baby dragon caught in the web of a monster spider. The dragon was struggling to break free, while the spider slowly made its way towards it. Acting on instinct, the blonde rushed forward, rotating the darkness into a single point on the palm of his hand. He then compressed the power, forming a ball of spiraling darkness. He slammed it into the spider, sending it flying far into the forest before the orb of darkness exploded, killing the spider. Then it started to shrink, sucking in everything nearby before disappearing. Looking at the attack, the blonde realizes that it creates a powerful explosion before sucking in everything nearby and compresses whatever it takes under extremely high pressure. The spider's web was destroyed in the attack, but the dragon was still tied up when it fell onto the forest floor. Naruto walked up to the dragon when it started to growl at him. He raised his hand in surrender, waiting for the dragon to calm down. When the dragon stopped, he advanced a little closer and eventually stood right in front of it. Slowly, he removed the web from the dragon. When he was done, he waved his hand in a dismissive manner. The dragon hesitated for a few seconds before taking off into the forest as fast as it could. The blonde turned to Mio and Norman, who by the look of shock on their faces, thought that he was going to try to get the dragon as his familiar. I don't really want to get a dragon as a familiar, well cool they are not really my thing. The young master explained simply. They continued to look until suddenly the blonde said, I have to pee. Then he walked away from the group into a small clearing. Are you coming out now or what? The blonde inquired. He was met with silence. There was no movement for a few minutes, then a female voice said, how did you know I was here? Mio and I both sensed that someone was following us after I defeated the demon spider, the blonde replied. But we didn't know who it was until now. Suddenly, a magic bullet flew through the air and hit a tree next to the blonde. From the tree, a beautiful woman with long black hair and onyx eyes emerged. Young master, she said as she prepared herself for battle. She was about to attack you. The familiar master saw the woman and started to sweat in fear. Young lord, he said fearfully, that thing is not really a woman, but a Jorgumo spider in human form. What do you want from us? Naruto asked, ready to defend himself. You ask me that after killing one of my children? I'm here for revenge. The spider in human form said. She then attacked the blonde with a purple aura emanating from her hand and shooting out like a beam. Naruto countered with a beam of darkness. Both attacks exploded on contact, obscuring everyone's vision. Suddenly, the Jorgumo was behind the blonde, claws ready to attack. Mio launched a wind spell, pushing the Jorgumo away and clearing her vision. Young master, don't let your guard down, she's really trying to kill you. She warned. Thank you, Mio, he said, then fired multiple beams of darkness at her. She didn't recover in time from the wind spell, and the beams exploded on contact, leaving her bleeding all over. She then transformed into her true form, with a shout of rage, you damned little bastard. I'll kill you if it's the last thing I ever do. She was now a giant spider the size of a small house. Thinking quickly, Naruto told Mio, keep her distracted, I have an idea. Mio obeyed without question. Mio fired wind blades at the spider, hitting it all over, though it did little damage. It was enough to keep the spider's attention on her. Meanwhile, the blonde was trying to recreate the spell he used to kill the first spider, but this time, much larger. Mio used her wings to fly around, keeping just out of the giant spider's reach, while simultaneously launching wind attacks at it in all directions, kicking up dust to block the spider's vision of her master. Get out of the way, Mio, Naruto's voice shouted from the dust cloud surrounding the spider. Mio flew away, and Naruto burst out of the dust cloud, his attack having grown much larger than usual. He slammed his attack, which was several times his size, into the side of the spider woman. He shouted, and the attack pushed the Jorgumo deep into the forest before it exploded, compressing everything around it into a vacuum. Are you okay, young master? Mio asked worriedly. I'm okay, he replied, I'm just a little tired from using that attack. Suddenly a voice said I am so glad you two are okay. Turning around, they saw the familiar master who had reappeared after he vanished as soon as the fighting started. Mio glared at the old man and said, where were you when we were being attacked? The man nervously looked around, as if he wanted to make a run for it. I'm not much of a fighter, he replied. So I just teleport a short distance away. Mio's glare grew even harder, but Naruto didn't seem to care anymore. Mio, forget about it, he said. Let's just go check and see if that overgrown spider is still alive. They made their way to where the attack had landed, and to their surprise, the spider was alive, but in human form, bloodied with her limbs missing. Curse you, may you never find peace with my death, the Jorgumo said, coughing up blood. So you're still alive after that attack, you really are one tough spider, the blonde said, ignoring the fact that she was cursing him. Young master, let me take care of this vile creature, Mio offered as she raised her hand ready to deliver the finishing blow. Wait, Mio. I think I found my familiar, Naruto said with a smile. Both Mio and Norman looked at the blonde as if he had gone insane, but the blonde walked right up to the Jorgumo. Hey you spider, how would you like to be my familiar? He offered her. Now even the dying spider looked at the blonde like he was crazy for not only having the nerve to kill his child, fatally injuring her, but then asking her to make a contract with him. Look, I'm sorry for killing your kid, but it was going to eat a baby dragon. I know it's no excuse, but I think you're really cool and strong familiar. He said his piece and waited to hear what she had to say. The Jorgumo just kept looking at the blonde, wondering if he was serious. If I become your familiar, how will you make it up to me for killing one of my children? I don't know, but if you become my familiar, I will treat you like a member of my family, and I will heal your injuries, he answered. A member of the family, huh? I guess I will accept your proposal. She thought about it for a moment before saying, I don't really care that you killed my child, I have hundreds of them anyway. It's more of a matter of pride and I don't want to die just yet. The blonde is at least strong and will grow even stronger over time. Who knows, maybe you could be a good mate in the future, she thought to herself. Young master, are you sure you want her? She asked, arguing, a hydra might have been a better choice than her. Yes, I agree with her. She might be even more dangerous than a hydra. We can try to find something else. Said Norman while trying to change the blonde's mind. No, she's the one I have a good feeling about, Naruto said stubbornly. Scythen, we better heal her before she dies. Mio said as she knew you were not going to change your mind. She pulled out a small vial of Phoenix tears and poured it over the Joragumo. Her body was fully healed, but her clothes were barely there, causing Naruto and Norman to blush. Mio summoned a blanket for her to wrap around herself and ordered Norman to start the binding contract since she had enough of this place. So what is your name? I can't just keep calling you Spider, Naruto asked. I don't have one, she replied. I hatched from a batch of hundreds of siblings. We Joragumo aren't really great at parenting, we lay our eggs and then they have to fend for themselves. Is that why you forgave me for killing your kid so easily? Naruto asked her. Yes, it is, she replied. I tried to kill you because you were in my territory and dared to attack. Okay, would you have liked it if I had given you a name? The young lord offered her. Do as you please, she replied. How about Stella? He suggested after some moments of thoughtful reflection. Stella isn't a bad name, I guess from now on I will be known as Stella. The newly named Stella accepted her new name. The familiar's master began the contract ritual, offering up some blood and magic. Both the familiar and the contractor did the same, and a magical symbol appeared on their arms, signifying that the contract had been successfully completed. This has been quite an adventure, but I've had enough for one day. I'm calling it a day, goodbye, he said as he left. Okay, let's go home, master, Mio said, wanting to get her master away from the Joragumo. Let's work together from now on, Stella, the blonde said to his familiar before leaving to return home. Well, he sure is interesting, Stella says while laughing before going back to her own home. The next morning after our visit to the familiar forest, we find Naruto sleeping in his room on an overly large mattress that could fit over 20 people comfortably. The blonde was snoring away when suddenly Mio opened the door, entering. She was dressed in her maid's outfit, which was black and white in color, with a skirt that almost showed a hint of her panties. Good morning, young master. It's time to get up, she exclaimed cheerfully. I don't want to, Naruto said before putting a pillow over his head and burrowing further into the mattress. Mio just went over to the curtains, pulling them aside, pushing the window open, letting the noise from the outside enter and the purple light from the underworld sky. The blonde turned and groaned but didn't make any move to get up. Mio just huffed before putting a sickly sweet smile on her face. Mio called him young master, then grabbed the bed sheets and pulled them off. "Sigh," he said as he stood up, "I'm up." "Good," said the maid. "Now let me help you get ready so your parents can see your new friend." "I guess they could not wait until a few more hours," he complained while jumping out of bed naked as the day he was born. "You know, they want to see the type of familiar you choose," she stated. "So are you ready for your bath or am I going to have to get rough?" "Well, let's get this over with then," the young master said as he entered the bathroom, with Mio following after to attend to him. 30 minutes later, Naruto was sitting with his parents at a larger table with lots of different foods and drinks on it with Mio as his personal maid standing behind his chair. "So I heard from Mio that you managed to obtain a powerful familiar," Damien inquired. "She mentioned it was a Joragumo, am I correct?" "Yes, she is awesome," the blonde boy said excitedly. "She was able to fight both Mio and me, and she took a direct hit from my strongest attack and didn't even flinch." "That's great," the blonde's father said. "If she's strong, she'll be able to help you in the future. Mio also told us she was a violent beast who tried to kill you until you brought her to the brink of death," Lady Isha added, clearly not pleased by the choice of such a nasty familiar. "She can be a little rough around the edges, but I think she'll make a great familiar," Naruto said, trying to calm his mother down. "Okay, so summon her so we can meet her," the blonde's father ordered. "Yes, I would like to meet this familiar too," his mother added. Naruto just sighed and did as told, summoning his familiar to the room. She was in her human form, wearing a small black kimono that left half of her exposed. Taking a better look at her now that he wasn't trying to kill her, Naruto realized she was quite beautiful. Shoulder-length black hair and black eyes, with an hergless figure. "Hey Stella, how are you doing?" the blonde asked his familiar. "Are you all healed up?" "You're the one who caused them in the first place, brat," she replied, pulling on his cheeks. "But I'm fully recovered." The blonde's parents were watching them interact. His father was looking at the familiar with a slight smile on his face, while his mother was glaring at her for how she was pulling on his cheeks. She was ready to attack when she saw her blushing husband, so she smacked him on the head, causing him to fall on the ground with a lump on his head. This drew the attention of both the familiar and the master. "That female is a brute," she stated, letting go of the blonde's cheeks. "Oh, you mean my mother," the blonde said. "She always disciplines my dad when he does or says something stupid." "Who are you calling a brute, bitch?" Lady Isha yelled at the Joragumo. "You tried to kill my son, give me one good reason why I shouldn't return the favor." "I would like to see you try, Granny," Stella yelled back. "Hey, calm down you two. Let's have a little chat with each other," Naruto said, trying to break up the two, but seeing that they didn't back down from the other, he asked his father for help. "Father, help me with mom. I will calm Stella. Okay, I think that's quite enough. Lord Damien said, getting up from the ground and putting himself in front of the blonde mother. He took her hand and led her to her seat at the table. Sit. Damien ordered, Isha glaring at him for what seemed like hours, but was only a few seconds. She relented and sat down. Damien went back to his seat and ordered another of the maids to bring another chair for his son's familiar to sit next to her master. So, what do you think of my son so far? Lord Satantia asked the familiar who was seated next to his master. He's an annoying brat, she answered, glancing at her master. A storm cloud seemed to gather over his head. But he has potential, she finished. That's good, and are you willing to lend him your strength? I mean, support him until he realizes his full potential, Damien asked further. I accepted his request to be his familiar when I was near death or not. I will keep my word unless he breaks his word to me first, she stated as she took some delicious-looking meat off the table. I'm satisfied, he said, turning to his wife. Do you have any questions you want to ask her before we eat? Yes, in fact I do, Isha replied. Why did you become my son's familiar after he killed your child and almost killed you? I lay hundreds of eggs throughout my life, some are eaten before they hatch, and others are killed by other creatures in the forest or by their own siblings. It's the law of nature, the strong survive. The only reason I attacked your son was because he attacked one of my children within my territory, it was more of a matter of pride. Stella explained her reasons for his actions. Your son showed he was strong when he defeated me, so I am willing to follow him, Stella concluded. Lady Satantia just looked at Stella before rubbing her forehead. You just had to choose one of the hardest to tame familiars in the whole forest, didn't you? She asked tiredly, even though the day had just begun. Okay, I'll accept you as my son's familiar, but if you hurt him, I'll personally hunt you down. The blonde mother warned. Do I make myself clear? I think we have an understanding, Stella said with a wide smile as Isha gritted her teeth. That sounds good, said Lord Damien. Let's eat. The family plus familiar ate. Then Naruto's parents had to go to an important meeting with the Satans. When his parents left, Naruto, Mio, and Stella remained. He asked them to train with him so he can learn his familiar full abilities and also to see if she can give him some pointers. They spent the day together getting to know one another, then the day came to a close. Years go by. Naruto is now 12 years old. Naruto found himself in a forest. He looked around until he saw a village with a giant gate. He approached it to ask where he was, but as he reached it, the two guards greeted him like they knew him. Hey there Naruto, are you coming back from a mission? Asked one of the two dark-haired men who were wearing a green vest, black pants, and sandals. They also had a headband with a symbol of a leaf on it that looked familiar, though he couldn't remember where he had seen it before. Hey, are you doing all right? The next guard asked after seeing you spacing out. You should go to the hospital if you're not feeling well, he suggested. No, I'm okay, I'll just be going now, Naruto said as he walked past them. He then saw a mountain with faces on it, but suddenly got a headache. He grabbed his head as his world began to spin, and he had flashes of men with red eyes and 9 different giant beasts. The enormous fox with 9 tails stood out the most. Then his world turned black. Suddenly, he jolted awake, realizing it was all a dream. Sighing, he realized his dreams were becoming more frequent, they all seemed so real. He decided not to dwell on it, as it would not help him. He got up from bed and prepared for another day's worth of training. After the blonde had dressed himself, there was a knock on the door. Mio and her half-sister Maria entered. Maria Nerus was Mio's half-sister by her father's side. She came into the Satantia clan service as a favor to Maria mother, who was the head maid of the house and best friends with Naruto mother. Maria has a short stature, silver hair and flat chest. She was a kind person, but above all else she is a massive pervert who would try to put the blonde in the most compromising positions. Lord Damien thought it would be funny to have her be the blonde's second personal maid. She wore the same skimpy maid outfit like her half-sister, but hers was much more revealing if possible, but she doesn't have the same curves as her sister. She has been his maid for a year now. Good morning, young master. How are you doing today? Mio asked in a cheerful voice as she started to clean the room. I bet you were have a dirty dream, was I in it? Maria said, put on a perverted smile. No, I was not, Maria, I was just having the usual dreams, but I am feeling fine now, I am going out to train, come get me when it's time for breakfast, he replied to them, sounding tired. You're going out and train already, don't you want to keep the company of 2 beautiful women like us? Maria teased as she gave a cute pose, but had a worried look on her face as she come to care for the blonde from her time spent in the clan service. Are you having nightmares again? Mio asked as she got the blonde to tell them about his dreams since it was waking him up in the middle of the night and she or Maria had to make him something to eat so he could go back to sleep. Yes, but it's nothing I can't handle. You two don't have to worry about me, the boy replied, seeing the look Mio and Maria was sending him. Okay, but if you need anything, you can always talk to me, I'm here for you, Mio said, trying to comfort the blonde. Thank you Mio, I said, I will remember that. Do either of you want to train with me? You and Maria are a mid-class devil right now, but you two will be able to get promoted to high class if you put your minds to it. Were you trying to get rid of me? I may be able to get promoted to a high-class devil, but I don't plan on leaving my duties behind. She stated. I will join you, just give me a second to tidy the room. Yeah, Blondie, you are stuck with us for a very long time, Maria said, sticking her tongue out at her blonde master, making him laugh. After she finished, they went to the training grounds. Mio got into a fighting stance as wind gathered around her, while Naruto let his aura of his dark magic out. His eyes turned purple before he went on the attack. Maria was side on the sidelines watching this all happen, as she said she wasn't really interested in training, but he sometime gets her to spar with him and she is no pushover. Focusing back on Mio, he fired bullets of dark magic at Mio, but they were deflected by her wind barrier. She charged in with her fist cocked back, but Naruto read through her movements with his power of divination that let him see 4 seconds into the future. He waited until the last second before dodging her fist to get into her guard and released a compressed orb of darkness. He watched as she was thrown forward by the attack as it exploded, kicking up a lot of dust. After the explosion, a vacuum was created. When the dust cleared, Naruto saw Mio unharmed as she put a lot of magic into her wind barrier, which shielded her from his attack. Her clothes weren't so lucky, her maid outfit was gone, exposing her large fully, and her panties were just barely hanging onto her hips. Are you okay, Mio? The blonde asked. I'm okay, you caught me off guard, she answered as she got up and created a new outfit with magic. That's good, but really, you're as strong as any high-class devil. You could make your own clan, get land and servants of your own. He said to her. As I told you before, I am not interested in that, I'm happy here, she stated. Oh, you two lovebirds should just get a room and make some babies, Maria interjected, causing them both to blush and turn away from the other. Naruto go his compasser back, then turned to Mio. Sigh, if you're happy then that's all that matters. The blonde began to think about what he discovered about his powers. His power of darkness allowed him to freely control darkness. It also had some effect on gravity. When in direct contact with someone, it could interfere with their powers. For the power of divination, he discovered he could see a few seconds into the future, but had trouble seeing the past or present. Maria, it's your turn to spar, the blonde ordered, as she rarely willingly wants to train unless he makes her. But I don't want to, the silver hair maid replied, pouting cutely at the blonde, hoping he would change his mind, but he keep his serious face, so she sigh and went across from him and enter her fighting stance. Right, let's go Maria, the blonde announced to his maid, who was in her fighting stance, prompt her to attack. After the training, they had breakfast and went about their daily duties. Mio and Maria returned to take care of the house, while the blonde went to get his lesson with his mother. Naruto lay on his bed as the day came to a close, his mind kept going over the dreams he usually had at night. In some, he saw a blonde boy who looked like him struggling to gain recognition from a village that hated him. In others, he saw the blonde fight a boy with black hair and red eyes. He even saw 9 enormous beasts talking to the blonde. He didn't know what to think. There was also the attack he used on instinct when he fought the spider in the familiar forest. It resembled an attack the blonde boy used, but his was made with chakra, not magic, which should be impossible, since only Yaki should have chakra, not humans. In the end he drifted to sleep and the images continued to plague him through the night, but this time was a little different. The blonde found himself in front of a massive cage. As he moved forward to see inside, a massive claw shot forward, making him jump back. He looked up and saw 2 slit red eyes staring down at him, making him gulp. Then the creature spoke. Naruto, it seems like you're still not ready to remember everything, but since you made it this far, you may one day become the man you once were. The creature growled. Now beggin'. The creature roared, making Naruto jump out of his dream, cold sweat dripping down his face. The blonde took some breaths before calming down and flopping back down on his mattress. What the heck was that? He said to himself, turning to look at his clock and seeing it was 3 a.m. I might as well get some training in. He jumped out of bed to go train, his mind still thinking about the creature he encountered. As he arrived at the training grounds, his mind remembered the human boy in his dream who could somehow use chakra and use hand seals to use techniques. He remembered when he made a seal to draw out the chakra, so he decided to give it a try. He made the seal, but nothing happened for a good few minutes and he started to feel stupid for trying that. But then, suddenly, an aura surrounded him that was not magic. It was not like the chakra he saw in his dream, but it was incomplete, like he was drawing only a part of it. He realized that the people in his dream had a chakra system inside of them, while he did not. So, he must have only been drawing out the physical energy. The energy faded as he lost focus, but he promised himself he would train with it further because it could be a powerful tool and could help him unlock his chakra in the future. Master? Where are you? He heard a voice screaming in the distance. He looked up into the sky and saw Mio flying high above, searching everywhere for him. Mio, I'm down here, he yelled, catching her attention. She quickly flew down and embraced him. I was so worried something happened to you when I went to your room and couldn't find you, she said as a few tears came from her eyes. Why didn't you tell anyone you were going to train? Naruto looked down guiltily before saying I had a nightmare and I wanted to clear my head so I came out here to train. I'm sorry I worried you. I guess I understand, she said. But don't do it again. She continued, these nightmares of yours are becoming more of a nuisance. I know, but I can't help it, Naruto replied as he helped Mio dry her eyes with a cloth he created with magic. Mio just stayed silent for a moment before saying I think I'm going to sleep with you from now on. What do you mean by that? I'm too young for that, the blonde said, blushing up a storm. Mio waved her hand around and blushed. No, she replied, that's not what I meant. I just think if you had company, you might be able to sleep better. Okay, I get what you mean, Naruto replied, hesitant to cause Mio any more trouble. Yes, it will also put both your parents and my mind at ease, Mio stated, that reminds me, we should call them so they don't destroy everything looking for you. The blonde mother in particular would go berserk if she couldn't find her son. Well, if you put it that way, I'll be in your care from now on, the blonde said as Mio used her magic to contact his parents, letting them know she had found him and that he was unharmed. When they returned to the mansion, his mother yelled at him while his father and Maria laughed behind her. He was forbidden from training for a month as punishment, which he thought was unfair but was smart enough not to say so to his furious mother. Time passed and he still had nightmares, but with Mio and Maria next to him, Maria after hearing Mio will be sleeping with their blonde master, invited herself to his bed. With them next to him he found it more manageable. The only problem he was having was that Mio and Maria slept in the nude and he was going through puberty with them sleeping on both sides of him. Maria somehow found a way to sleep in so many erotic ways, like one morning he woke up with her in his mouth, the next is with his hand between her legs that refused to let him go, and another morning she somehow stripped him and positioned everyone so that Mio had his cock down her throat while still asleep and Maria while sleeping had her wet cunt in his mouth, he can still remember her taste. It was taking all of his willpower to not bend his maids over that day and have his way with them, but it wouldn't have been so bad if he did, he thought to himself. Naruto age 17. The day was like any other, Naruto was called to his parents' office after training with Mio, while Maria watched making perverted comments as usual. Mio and Maria had been by his side throughout the day and after training they help him bath by washing his naked body. They were blushing heavily as usual after they finished their duty as his personal maid. They walked through the mansion to the blonde's father's office and on the way Naruto noticed the housemaids going about their daily duties such as mopping, sweeping, and cleaning. When the trio reached Naruto's parents' office, Naruto knocked and waited for a response. The blonde heard his father say enter before he did just that, seeing his father, mother, and the head maid Sheila who was Maria's mother, she looked identical to her daughter with silver hair and purple eyes, wearing a maid outfit. Naruto stated, you called for me. He wanted to know the reason for the summons. Yes, we have been invited to a very important meeting by the Satans. There will be many other high-class devils there and we want you to be on your best behavior, Lady Isha said to her son, knowing that he is a troublemaker. So I will have to go, the blonde said reluctantly, knowing most devils were arrogant and greedy creatures. Yes, all clans are expected to bring their heirs. You will have to endure it, Lady Isha replied knowing her son. He said. So I don't have a choice, do you know what this meeting is about? We have an idea why we are having this meeting, but let's just wait for the Satans to make their announcement, the blonde's father replied as he shared a look with Isha. Okay, let's all get ready to go, we have to be there in 2 hours, the blonde mother said before telling Mio to make sure her son gets ready on time. 2 hours later, we saw the family of 3 all dressed formally, with Naruto and his father in black suits and his mother in a matching black dress. Mio, Maria and Sheila were not going to be joining them as it was a meeting between the high-class devil clans, but they wished them well. A teleportation circle glowed brightly beneath the Satantia clan members before they vanished. The devil's capital Lucifid, the Satantias arrived and were met by the servants of the Lucifer clan, who led them to the dining area where the other high-class devils had already gathered. Naruto looked around at the different devil clans and realized it was the first time he had seen almost all of them. He had been sheltered from having to interact with them unless they came to their territory to have a meeting with his parents. By looking at them, he could tell that they were arrogant, greedy, and full of many other negative traits. However, he would have to make it through the night talking to them. He realized they were being approached by a couple of devils from the Malphas clan, Raim and Viper. Assuming based on his studies with his mother, who taught him about the different devil clans and their clan abilities. The Viper clan was easy to recognize, with their white hair and eyes. Their clan had the power of demonic black lightning. Next was the Raim clan, also easy to identify by their full body tattoos that looked like demonic animals. Their clan had the power to bring their body tattoos to life to fight for them. Last, but not least, was the Malphas clan, who had horns, brown hair, and eyes. They had the power to create powerful illusions that could fool the five senses so much that the victim's body would suffer damage. "Ah, Lord and Lady Satantia, how are you this evening?" Lord Ryam said in an arrogant tone. He was with his wife, 3 concubines and 2 sons. "We're doing just fine, Lord Ryam. Thank you for asking." Lady Isha replied politely. "Well, enough with the peasantries, would you happen to know what this gathering is all about?" Lady Viper inquired. She was accompanied by her husband and daughter. Well, I am not 100% sure about why we were called here. I am assuming it is due to the growing tension with heaven." Lord Satantia answered, as he figured they had figured it out themselves and didn't want to put it into words. "I was afraid of that. Do you think we are going to declare war on heaven?" Lord Malphas asked, preferring things to stay the same. He had his 2 wives with him and had 2 daughters and 1 son with him. "Sigh, it can't be helped if the Satans decide we are going to war with heaven, then it is what will have to happen," Lord Satantia said, not directly answering Lord Malphas' question. Suddenly, the lights in the room went out and a spotlight lit up the stage. A man with white hair and blue eyes walked onto it, Naruto recognizing him as Lord Lucifuge, whom he had met when he had visited his parents on business. "Lords and ladies, can you all please take your seats? Our great and mighty leaders will be with you shortly," Lord Lucifuge announced to the crowd. "Since we are all here, would you mind if the clan leaders shared a table and our heirs got to know each other?" Lord Ryam offered. "I don't mind," Lord Malphas said lazily. "I think it's a good idea. With what's coming, it would be good for them to be allies," Lady Viper stated, liking the idea. "Well, I think it would be a good idea for our son to socialize with more people," Lord Satan said, not really caring about the idea because he knew they all were trying to manipulate his son in one way or the next. "Okay, it is decided, let's take our seats," Lord Ryam said as he looked around for a table that could fit all of them. Lord Viper found some tables that can fit them and one next to it that their heirs can use. They all took their seats and Naruto sat with the other clan heir. He didn't really have much experience talking to people around his age and he also can't really trust the people at the table because he knew that their parents had other motivations to want them to be away for the adults. When the blonde and the other heirs were seated, they introduced themselves to each other. Starting with Lord Ryam's 2 sons, who were named Bishop the elder and Hillel the younger. Lord Viper's daughter was named Elizabeth and finally, we had Lord Malphas' daughters, whose names were Zephania and Sapphira. They were identical twins. Sapphira was born first, while their brother Darius was the youngest. In appearance, they looked almost exactly like their parents, but younger. As the blonde sat there, the heir made small talk about various things, such as the things they owned and the women they had slept with. Naruto could only just bear it, they were just what he expected them to be. He kept quiet for most of the conversation, only speaking up when he was addressed directly. The blondes were just getting the feel for them. Lord Ryam's sons were basically arrogant and stupid devils that would most likely end up pissing off the wrong person and ending up dead. Lord Viper's daughter seemed to be the calculating type who would manipulate anyone stupid enough to fall under her influence, and Lord Malphas' children were a mixed bag. While the twins who seemed normal were talking, the brothers would sometimes flinch when they turned their attention to him. He suspected that they were more than what they showed. Naruto could only sigh in his head for his misfortune. Thankfully Lord Lucifuge had come back to announce the 4 Satans' arrival. The first one to be introduced was Lord Lucifer himself, a beautiful man with silver hair and blue eyes. Then it was Lord Beelzebub, a huge man with brown hair and eyes. Next was Lady Leviathan, a curvaceous woman with brown skin and brown hair and grey eyes. Finally, Lord Asmodeus appeared. He had black hair and red eyes, but the most peculiar thing about him were his pointed elf-like ears. "Good evening, my fellow devils. We are gathered here by our great and powerful leaders because they have some good news to share with us," Lord Lucifuge said, amplifying his voice with magic. The crowd cheered and Lord Lucifuge handed the spotlight to the Satans. Lord Lucifer started to speak. "I am happy to see you all in good spirits. I have brought great news. Right now, at this moment, our race is the strongest that it has ever been and I am proud to have created it," Lord Lucifer said, patting himself on the back. "The heavens had always suppressed our movement on earth, but no more. As of this moment, we were going to war with heaven and we were determined to take back our right to rule over all creation." He further stated with such passion that almost all the devils present stood to their feet with applause. "So for tonight, we will celebrate and tomorrow we will prepare our army to go to war," he said, raising his drink in the air as servants came out with different foods and drinks. From there, it was a blur. The celebration started out tame enough, then, when everyone started to drink, things got crazy. Some nobles grabbed female servants, ripped off their clothes and bent them over their tables, having their way with them as they cried for mercy. Some couples also started sharing partners, male or female, none being safe from their appetites. Naruto decided to follow in his parents' footsteps and simply sip his drink while ignoring what was happening around him. When everything was said and done, Lord Lucifer dismissed all the devils and told them that he would summon them one by one to assign them different positions in his legions. The blonde and his parents teleported home, and the blonde felt both tired and horny at the same time. When he arrived at his room, he found Mio sleeping with Maria in her arms, both naked as usual. Usually the blonde would be able to resist such a sight, but tonight after what he had witnessed he needed some relief. The blonde stripped out of his clothes and made his way over to Mio and Maria. Mio, who heard him remove his clothes, woke up. Maria, who is a heavy sleep, was oblivion to what is going on. She looked over at him and saw his erect penis leaking precum as he slowly walked over to her. She blushed deeply and sat up, looking into his eyes and seeing that they were slightly darker and that he was overcome with lust. "Young master, how was the gathering?" "I hope nothing bad happened," Mio asked while tilting her face to the side. "Oh, the gathering was fine other than the orgy that happened and the fact that we're going to war with heaven," Naruto casually replied as he continued forward. "What? We're going to war, and what do you mean by orgy?" Mio exclaimed, not really understanding what had been said. Naruto ignored that as he climbed into bed next to Mio. He claimed her lips with his, pushing her back onto the bed with him on top. Their legs were intertwined as they looked into each other's eyes. Mio was flustered but didn't push him away. They continued making out, their lips swollen from the kissing. Naruto looked to the side, seeing Maria still asleep, but moved in a position where he could see all her body clear. Although she was not as curvy as Mio, she was still cute with a tight little body that he was going to taste tonight if he had any to say about it. The next day we see Naruto waking up between Mio and Maria in their shared bed. Naruto with his arms around Mio and Maria, his left arm was on Mio's, and his right hand was cupping Maria's overly sensitive that was burning red and leaking from the night's activities. If you took a closer look, you can see both sisters had a hand wrapped around the blonde male's cock. Suddenly, the blonde mother Isha walked in without knocking, seeing the state of the room which reeked of sex and the three occupants who were still connected in tangled limbs. She used her magic to summon a bucket of water and let it fall on the trio, causing them to jump out of the bed, soaking wet. Naruto asked his mother, what was that for? Annoyed at the way he had been woken up. "It seems you forgot that today is very important. We have been summoned to meet Lucifer to receive our ranks in the Legion. This, of course, includes you. Get presentable and come to the clan study," Lady Isha stated and walked out, ignoring Mio and Maria who were leaking cum on the ground. Mio and Maria used a healing spell on each other before helping the blonde get ready. He kissed them on the lips before going to meet his parents. His father greeted him with a proud wide smile, knowing full well what he had done the night before. The mother's expression was blank, revealing no emotion. They used a teleportation circle and soon found themselves outside Lucifer's mansion. One of the servants ushered them inside, and not long after, they stood before Lord Lucifer, the original devil himself. He had a small smile as he looked at the blonde, then he focused on her parents. Lucifer Mansion. The original Lucifer, the father of the devil race, could be seen sitting behind his desk in his office that was decorated in silver and black colors. The family of 3 Satantias were standing and waiting for the Satan to begin the meeting. "Good morning, Lord Satantia. How have things been going?" Lucifer asked, making small talk with the clan leader while ignoring Lady Isha and Naruto. "Things have been going well, my lord," Lord Damien replied respectfully. "That's good to hear," the father of devils stated, "so that we can get the pleasantries out of the way, let me tell you the rank I am going to assign you." He then moved some paperwork around on his desk. "Lord Satantia, I betroth you the rank of Great General. You will be in command of Godic nobles Amun, Barbados, Pruphlas and Astaroth, and have 54 legions of devils as your subordinates," Lucifer said proudly to Lord Satantia before he looked to Naruto, looking him up and down. "What is your name?" the father of the devil asked Naruto as he was staring right at him with an intrigued look. "My name is Naruto," the blonde swiftly answered respectfully, not wanting to anger the prideful devil. "Naruto? HMPH, it seems to me that you are as strong, if not stronger, than an ultimate class devil." Lucifer said he felt Naruto's power. "I wouldn't know, sir," the blonde replied honestly. "I haven't fought anyone besides my servants and my parents, and I know they are holding back during our sparring sessions. Is that so? How about we see how strong you are in a sparring match with an opponent of my choosing? If you win, I'll even give you a reward," Lucifer stated, making it seem like he was giving Naruto an opportunity to decline. "It would be an honor, sir," Naruto replied, knowing that he didn't have a choice. Lucifer summoned his faithful servant Lucifuge and ordered him to bring his son to the clearing behind the mansion. After Lucifuge left to fetch his son, Lucifer stood up and walked towards the group. When he was near, he created a magical circle beneath them and teleported everyone to the designated area. Behind the Lucifer mansion, the 4 devils arrived at an area that looked like a war zone. It was a large area with deep craters in the ground and uprooted trees. Naruto was sure he saw dry blood all over. Not long after, Lucifuge returned with a young-looking devil who looked to be in his 20s, with the classic Lucifer features of silver hair and blue eyes. "This is my son, Rizavam Lucifer," said Lord Lucifer. "I want you to have a little spar to see how much power you have. If you win, I will give you a reward." He motioned for both Naruto and his son to step forward. Naruto and Rizavam circled each other before standing across from the other. Naruto glanced at his parents and could see they were worried. Looking at Rizavam, Naruto could tell he was powerful but arrogant, he could use that against him. "So your name is Naruto, huh? My father found me a new plaything, the others break so easily. I hope you can at least entertain me," Rizavam said with an arrogant smirk. "I hope you can keep up with me," Naruto said. "It would be embarrassing if I defeated you before you could even make a move." He added, causing Rizavam to scowl while receiving a smirk from Lord Lucifer. Lord Lucifer stepped forward to act as referee of the match. "This is a friendly spar," he said. "The terms of victory are either knockout or submission." Lord Lucifer raised his hand in the air and then brought it down, shouting "begin," signaling the start of the match. On the side with Lucifer, who do you think will win the spar? Lord Lucifer asked the Satantians in interest, knowing his son was strong and experienced, but also aware that Naruto possessed a lot of power within himself. "I mean no disrespect when I say this," said Lord Satantia, "but I think our son is going to win, he always finds a way to surprise you." Lord Lucifer raised an eyebrow at his statement. "Is that so? What about you, Lady Satanachia? Do you think your son is going to win too?" Lucifer asked Isha, addressing her for the first time since the meeting began. Lady Isha looked surprised at being addressed directly by Lucifer, for he would never speak to anyone he thought was beneath him, and being a woman, she was placed in that category. He even treated his wife as a servant to fulfill his lust and create more devils. "I know our son will win because his is destined for greatness," Lady Isha replied, making Lucifer chuckle and turn back to watch the spar. With sparring match, Naruto started the match by sending a volley of magical bullets at Rizavam, to which he responded by sending a volley of his own, cancelling each other out and causing an explosion. The area was covered in smoke, blocking everyone's vision, however, the blonde could still sense Rizavam through the smoke. He was building up a massive amount of magical power for whatever he was about to do. Naruto activated his power of divination to allow him to see a few seconds into the future. Naruto was able to see that Rizavam was planning to launch a huge magic bullet at him as soon as the smoke cleared, so Naruto prepared his shadow travel technique to teleport behind him after the attack. Naruto discovered while training and studying with his parents, the power of darkness also allowed him to manipulate shadows, as these two abilities were so closely linked. He and his father also discovered that while they each controlled darkness, there were different types of darkness. His father had the power of diabolic darkness, while he had the power of esoteric darkness. Both could be used in different ways. Naruto guessed that the Satantia's power of darkness must have either mutated within him, or the clan's bloodline gave its members different types of powers of darkness. Naruto focused back on the match, and just as he predicted, Rizavam had a massive magic bullet 3 times his size ready. He launched it as soon as the smoke cleared, but Naruto waited until just as it was about to hit him, before he teleported behind Rizavam using his shadow. Naruto then created a ball of darkness and slammed it into Rizavam's back, sending him forward before it exploded. On the side with Lucifer, "Well, that was interesting, your son seems to be full of surprises. From what I saw, he used shadow travel to get behind my son and attack him from his blind spot," Lucifer said, not really caring if his son got hurt. "It is as you said, sir," Lord Satantia replied. "He is really good at shadow travel, he can teleport away faster than you can blink." "Not bad, but it will take more than a surprise attack to defeat Rizavam," the father of the devil stated. They felt a massive surge of demonic power as Rizavam stood up unharmed, though his clothes were dirty and torn. "Now the real match begins," Lucifer said as he looked on with interest. Naruto's parents were worried by the amount of power the Lucifer heir was releasing. "Back with match." "Not bad," Rizavam said cheerfully, though Naruto could tell he was anything but happy. Suddenly, he disappeared and appeared behind Naruto with his fist covered in his demonic power. Naruto dodged the attack without looking back, he flipped out of the way and jumped into his shadow to avoid a magical bullet that was aimed at him. "You're good at running away, but you're not gonna win that way," the Lucifer heir taunted, looking for the blonde, but not seeing him. Naruto hid behind a fallen tree, suppressing his demonic powers while watching Rizavam call him out. He remained calm, however, as he thought up a plan. Naruto saw that the Lucifer heir was building up his power and would soon release it in all directions, forcing him to reveal himself. "There you are," the son of Lucifer said. "Now you have no place to hide." The blonde said nothing, but he had the power of divination active, ready for the attack he knew was coming. He was right, Rizavam was above him in the air with a giant magic bullet larger than the one he used before in his hand. He fired it directly at Naruto, but the blonde was already at the other side of the field. The bullet exploded on the ground, causing massive destruction. Naruto looked at the destruction and swallowed hard as that would have killed him if it had hit. It seemed that the Lucifer heir was going for the kill, and if Naruto wanted to survive, he would have to do the same. The power of divination alerted Naruto to the impending danger in the form of Rizavum, whose body was covered in his demonic power. On instinct, Naruto released his power of the shadow and cloaked himself within it. He and Rizavum began dancing around each other, with Rizavum attacking and Naruto dodging. This continued for a few minutes before Rizavum grew increasingly frustrated by his inability to land a hit on the blonde bastard. But Lord Lucifer, he assumed that the heir of the Satantia family was using divination to avoid getting hurt. The father of the devil found it amusing how the heir was dodging his son's attacks by utilizing shadow travel or by waiting until the last second and avoiding danger, causing Rizavum to miss. Naruto is not skilled in using the power of divination, he only has the ability to see a few seconds into the future. Lord Satantia explained his son's ability, and he was quite proud of his son, as the Lucifer heir is a devil that is said to be stronger than most clan heads. So he can use it in battle quite well, but he won't win by just dodging alone, no matter how amusing it is. Lucifer said while giving a small chuckle, seeing his son shouting in frustration at the blonde. Back to the match. Rizavum shouted in anger, "You're just dodging everything I throw at you." He shot bullets of magic at the blonde, trying to hit him, but failed. "What's the matter? You seem to be stressed." Naruto said mockingly while ducking under the right hook aimed for his face. "Shut up. How dare you mock me? I am a Lucifer, and you are merely a servant." Rizavum roared, his face turning red as he released more power. Rizavum created 3 massive magic bullets, each measuring 10 meters in size and possessing enough power to destroy a city. Naruto looked at the attack in alert, as he did not know if he could dodge it. Moreover, most of his attacks had proven ineffective against him. Naruto then had a flashback. It was a dream of a blonde boy fighting an orange-haired man with piercings. The man with piercings had an attack that could attract things. The blonde realized if he could recreate that attack, it would draw the magical bullets away from him and explode them in the air. Naruto clapped his hands together and focused on creating a powerful attractive force. He spun the magic into a single ball. The magic orb grew in his hand, it was pitch black and seemed to have absorbed all the light around it. The blonde focused all of his power on it, and as Rizavum released his attack, the blonde launched the orb into the air. The effect was instant, the small orb seemed to negate the gravity in the area as the 3 magic bullets changed targets from the blonde and flew into the air towards the orb. When they could reach it, a huge explosion occurred and generated a blinking light and a strong gust of wind. Naruto was breathing heavily, but at that moment, Rizavum landed a powerful punch, sending him through several trees. As he got up, he couldn't help but feel an unexpected surge of determination building within him. At first, he thought it was fear, but a smile slowly crept onto his face. At that moment, the blonde felt excited, he was facing a strong opponent who wasn't holding back in fear of hurting him. Naruto had blood leaking from his mouth and head, but he had never felt better. Naruto couldn't help but laugh, causing Rizavum to look at him as if he had gone crazy from the hit. "Why are you smiling? Did that hit loosen some screws?" Rizavum asked while he regained his arrogant attitude. "No, I'm just excited about everything. Everyone holds back their power not wanting to seriously harm me in a spar, but you don't seem to be like that, and for that I thank you Rizavum Lucifer." The blonde replied. "Now, let's get wild." Naruto condensed the darkness into a dagger and released his aura, which mixed with something else he had recently discovered he could do, but did not yet have a name for. This enhanced his power. Suddenly, Naruto disappeared and reappeared in front of Rizavum. He swiped the dagger at Rizavum, who dodged, but was caught by a kick in the face, sending him flying. He stood ready to shout at the blonde, but found him above him with his dagger ready to slice his neck, quickly ducked and tried to get some distance, but it seemed the blonde wouldn't let him as he appeared from his shadow, slamming a magic bullet into his back. Rizavum let out a scream of pain as the magic bullet exploded on his back. He turned around to retaliate, but the blonde was already gone. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his foot. Looking down, he saw Naruto had stabbed his dagger through his foot into the ground. Rizavum fired a fist embedded with demonic magic at the blonde, but he managed to avoid it and head-butted Rizavum in the nose, breaking it as his blood flowed down his face. "Bastard, I'm going to kill you." The son of Lucifer shouted, bloodied from his nose and feet. "Not if I kill you first," the blonde said with a bloodthirsty smile. Before the match could continue, Lord Lucifer and the Santanichias appeared between them. "I think it's quite enough that we don't want you two to actually kill each other," Lord Lucifer said happily, pleased by what he was seeing. "What? But I was just about to kill this bastard." Rizavum shouted to his father. Lord Lucifer turned to his son before speaking. "I think you've embarrassed yourself enough today," he said, his tone deadly serious. "But if you still feel like fighting, I will be your opponent." Rizavum realized who he was talking to, quickly apologized, and left to get his wounds treated. However, not before shooting Naruto a dark look, to which the blonde replied with a large smile and wave, making Rizavum glare back before leaving the area. "Well, now that's over, I think we should call it a day," Lucifer said. "Since no one won the match, there will be no reward." "I understand, sir," Naruto replied. "Thank you for arranging the sparring match," he said honestly. Lucifer stared at the blonde before saying, "I think your mother is right, I will be expecting great things from you." Lord Lucifer dismissed them. The Satanchias returned to their clan house, where Naruto's father gave him a proud smile and slapped him on the back, while his mother crushed him in a hug and kissed his face all over. Mio felt her master and lover's magic rush towards them, but was shocked to see him bleeding all over. She hurried over, looking at him all over before helping him into his room. Naruto's parents decided to let her handle him while they started the war preparations and sent messages to the clans they had been placed in command of. Naruto told her what had happened and she was in shock. She heard about Rizavam Lucifer, a super powerful devil who was as cruel as they came. She was worried that her lover not only fought him, but also mocked him. The blonde simply gave her a little smile and a kiss on her lips, making her blush cutely. Mio didn't know that the blonde was still feeling the high from battling a strong opponent who had tried to kill him. Naruto thought back on the fight and realized that if Rizavam had taken the fight more seriously, he would have been killed. This realization made the blonde make a vow to himself to get stronger, so he would never find himself in that position again. While Mio was treating his injuries, the blonde saw Mio juggling tits in front of his face, and he couldn't help himself but to grab them and give them a squeeze, making her moan before she scowled at him for getting fresh with her while he was injured. Naruto laughed at how cute his lover was, but was a little disappointed when she removed his hand. Naruto sighed and then asked her a question that had been on his mind since after the battle. "Do you think I'm strong?" The blonde asked Mio in a serious voice. "Of course you are the master." Mio answered instantly to the question. "Then why do you hold back your power when we spar?" The blonde asked further. "I don't hold back," she replied, but her blonde lover just stared at her before she slumped her shoulders and answered, "It's because it's hard to attack someone you love with the intent to kill them. I wasn't doing it to hurt your feelings, I just couldn't. I think I understand, but from now on we're going to get stronger because I think I made an enemy today." Naruto stated, then took Mio by the waist and brought her to his bed, hugging her close. Naruto didn't know what the future held, but he was determined to be prepared for it. He would protect all of his loved ones, even if it meant taking them with him into the darkness. Naruto was teleported along with his parents, servants, and those the Satanchia clan had commanded over. The blonde looked around him, seeing the dark night sky and trees surrounding them. It appeared they were in a large forest. Naruto made sure Mio and Maria were by his side before looking to his parents for orders. Right now, his parents were in control of 54 legions of devils, including the Prufflas, Amun, Barbados, and Astaroth clans. His father, who was the commander-in-chief of Satan's army, gave some of the authority to his wife, Lady Isha, due to her tactical mind and ruthlessness. There were approximately 300,000 devils present. His father had assigned command of about 50,000 soldiers to himself, Lady Isha, Lord Prufflas, Lord Amun, Barbados, and Lady Astaroth. To his surprise, his father had given him command of his own 50 soldiers. Lord Damien took him aside with his mother to tell Naruto that they were proud of him and believed in him. They both agreed that he was ready to lead and had the power necessary to survive anything that came at him during the war. They had a touching moment together before separating to begin the long battle that lay ahead. Naruto made sure that Maria and Mio were assigned to him, so he ordered them to stay close to him throughout the war. This mission wasn't meant to be a long one, it was basically a retrieval mission. Lord Lucifer gave them some simple objectives. Retrieve or destroy whatever the angels are guarding, slaughter the enemy and cause as much destruction as possible. The father of devils wants them to cause mass damage so they can cause the humans to lose faith in heaven. Where devils feed on human sins and souls, heaven runs on the faith their believers have in them. By causing humans to lose faith, they will gradually weaken heaven. Naruto knows what he has to do. His father and the other lords and ladies are going to draw the majority of the angels' attention, while his 40,000 platoon is going to attack the remaining angels. Then he is going to find out what they are guarding and retrieve it, if possible. The angels were hiding in a small village near the forest they had teleported to, which contained less than 200 humans. His father suspected there would be at least one archangel among them, as well as several high-ranking ones. The major issue is that the angels will no doubt call for reinforcements, which is why they brought so many demons with them. However, Lady has a plan to delay them further by placing a powerful barrier around the village to prevent the reinforcements from entering and then teleporting away with the objective. The Satanchia heir watched as he saw the other commanders attacking the village and killed angels disguised as humans before the angels stopped hiding and made their presence known. The blonde suddenly feels a powerful holy aura clash with his father's own devil aura. He looks up to see Lord Satanchia clashing with a man with blonde hair and 6 pairs of golden angel wings. Naruto used this distraction to order his men to stop the angels from getting in their way and have Maria and Mio follow him as he made his way into the village. The blonde saw houses burning, people dying, and bodies littering the ground. All around was filled with the sound of battle. An angel tried to get in his way, but was forced to clash with some of the blonde subordinates. The blonde man saw two angels guarding a house. He gathered a dark spiral in his hand and fired it at the pair, separating them. Several of the blonde men attacked them, taking them away from the house. Naruto jumped into the house and saw a dead human female with her chest open on a bed, while a male angel with black hair was holding what looked like a small cube glowing with power. The angel had 6 wings, while the blonde just looked at the human whose face was frozen in pain and despair, for reasons that made him very angry, because it seemed as if the angel caused her death, someone she must have believed in. The blonde aura and killing intent leaked out, causing the angel to form a light spear. But the blonde devil was already behind him and used his sword to cut off the angel's limbs before he could even blink. Naruto emotionlessly picked up the cube and placed it in a storage box, while the angel in a pool of his own blood was cursing the blonde as his wings started to turn black. However, the blonde ignored him and left the house. A massive darkness spiral consumed the house, leaving nothing behind. Looking around, the blonde saw that there were countless amounts of angels there, and his side was being overwhelmed. They must have broken through the barrier Lady Isha had set up, but in any event, Naruto released his demonic power, signaling that the mission was over. Soon, all the devils were alive teleported to the underworld, leaving behind a dead village with the bodies of humans, devils, and angels scattered all over. The angel was in a panic, searching for the missing artifact. Does anyone find the sacred gear prototype? A blonde man with 6 golden angel wings asked a woman with 6 white wings. We were not able to find it, the devils must have taken it, Michael, the 6-winged woman replied. This isn't good, Gabriel. It took father a long time to make it, now he will have to start over. Michael said to his sister. Gabriel said, I'm sure father will be able to make another sacred gear even faster this time. I guess you're right, the golden winged man said as he surrounded all the angels in a glowing light before they returned to heaven. Underworld. When the survivors returned to the devil capital, Naruto gave his parents the container he had placed the cube inside. They would deliver it to Lord Lucifer. The battle went smoothly, the losses were minimal since Naruto managed to complete his objective quickly. The majority of the devils present teleported back home until the next battle. Naruto decided to go home with his servants closely behind him. Satanchia's state. Inside Naruto's bedroom, Maria was removing his blonde clothes while Mio prepared the bath so they could clean him up. They were worried about Naruto because ever since he had come back, he had been quiet and his usual warm eyes had turned cold. Maria, the bath is ready, bring the young master in now, Mio said from inside the bathroom. Okay, it's time to get clean. Maria stripped off her own clothes, taking Naruto's hand and leading him inside the bathroom. Or maybe we can get a little bit more dirty, the white-haired maid added with a seductive smirk. Maria frowned when she realized her master was not paying attention to her and was just letting her lead him around. She took him over to the tub where Mio was already inside, naked. What's wrong, master? You've been distant ever since the mission. Maria asked worriedly as she wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck and leaned against his chest. You can tell us anything, master, Mio said gently from behind the blonde, pressing her against Naruto's back and resting her head on his shoulder. It's just that the dead human female had a look of fear and despair because she chose to put her trust in someone who didn't care whether she lived or died. The blonde stated. I can see the same thing happening to me or any devil, Lord Lucifer doesn't care for anyone but himself. He wouldn't think twice about sacrificing all of us to complete his ambitions. The two maids were shocked by what the blonde had said, as it could be considered treason, the same crime their father was executed for. But Naruto was their master and they wanted to support him. So, they just hugged him and said nothing. I think I'll have to get a lot stronger than I thought, the blonde said to himself, but his maids overheard and vowed to get stronger too, so they could stay by his side. Heaven. Michael and Gabriel were kneeling in front of a throne on which a figure encased in light was seated. Father, the sacred relic has been stolen by the devils. Michael informs the God of the Bible. What should we do, Father? Asked Gabriel. The God of the Bible said solemnly, it looks like Lucifer wants to go to war. Michael nodded and replied, I will go get the ranks ready, war is upon us. It wasn't your fault we lost the artifact, God said. Lucifer is just too cunning. He smiled at his son. You did a very good job, my son. Thank you, Father, Michael replied happy that his father didn't see him as a failure. Oh, and don't worry about the holy gear, it was one of the 14 artifacts I am creating to help humanity defend itself against the supernatural. God said it is still incomplete, however, so it is unusable. It cannot be used against us. The two angels left the presence of their father and went to rally their troops against Lucifer and his devil legions. My son Lucifer, you couldn't continue to live in peace, could you? You always wanted what you couldn't have. God said sadly to himself before hardening his resolve. But I will protect this world and these people, no matter the cost even if it means killing you, my son. Timeship Naruto, who is now 159 years old, can be seen on the battlefield surrounded by angels and the fallen angels that have joined the war about 50 years after it started. By the blonde Satantia heir's side were his faithful servants Mio and Maria, both clad in their demonic aura. All three have changed a lot since the war started. Mio has gained control over her gravity magic and mastered elemental magic, making her an ultimate class devil. She also became much more womanly, her already large have become massive, along with her ass. The blonde was always squeezing and groping them to both his and Maria's amusement. Maria also changed, but in ability she also mastered her gravity magic and ki magic, but she didn't really change all that much physically, except for growing a few inches in height. Naruto himself has mastered his powers of darkness, chakra, kai, senjutsu, and tauki. He could still only use his power of divination to see a few seconds into the future, but it developed into an evil eye, as the blonde had been using the power on his eyes for years, causing them to mutate. He also created his own spell that inverts any attack sent at him, converting all attacks and weaknesses into healing and fortifying him. The Satantia heir has also become the commander of half the legions that the Satantia clan controls. Lord Lucifer himself has given him control over the Barbados and Astaroth clans, along with all their subordinates. Lord Barbados and Astaroth were both displeased to say the least, because to them the Satantia heir is just a spoiled child. At first they would ignore his orders on the battlefield, which almost got Maria killed by a fallen angel one time. After that, Naruto was in an enraged state as he beat both Lord Barbados and Astaroth at the same time in front of Lord Lucifer and several clan heads, humiliating and instilling the fear of death within them. Lord Lucifer had been giving him more responsibilities and sending him and his subordinates on more and more missions. Like right now, Naruto was on a search and destroy mission. He had to find the prototype of a holy relic that heaven had created, but it was a trap set by the fallen angels. They had leaked false information to both the devils and angels, planning to ambush them both and destroy them in one attack. Now the blonde was on one side with a legion of 150,000 devils behind him. Naruto's 6 pairs of bat-like wings flapped lazily as he floated in the sky, waiting for the other side to make a move. On the other side, Metatron, a seraphim, led the angels in this mission. The angelic numbers rivaled those of the devils. Lastly, the fallen angels, led by Armros, a 10-winged fallen angel. Well, their numbers weren't as great as the devils or angels, only having half their numbers at best, so they had created a barrier that weakened both the devil and angel magic, rendering them almost helpless. The fallen angels seemed unaffected by their barrier, which made the blonde devil suspect that they had some sort of protection that was keeping them from being affected by it. Naruto was unaffected by the barrier because of his magic, which inverted the enemy's magic effects. Instead of the barrier weakening him, it strengthened him, making him stronger. "You stupid fuckers fell for our trap," Armros said with a demented look on his face. "Now, surrender and die." "Don't you mean surrender and you will be spared?" Metatron asked the fallen leader. "Like I would ever spare an angel or a devil, you can all die here, fools," Armros replied as he and the fallen angels around him started to laugh. While this was going on, Naruto was looking for the source of the barrier, since the blonde knew a barrier of this scale required anchors in order to maintain it. He used senjutsu to detect the weak points of the barrier. He found 6 all over the battlefield. Without a word, he launched himself into the area the fallen were occupying, attempting to hide the barrier's weakness. Covered in the wide aura of his tauki, Naruto blasts the fallen angels away from a stone pillar, destroying it before moving on to the next target, another pillar. The blonde continued to destroy the pillars, while the fallen angels tried to stop him with their light attacks, but they bounced off his tauki. When the blonde destroyed the final pillar, all the angels and devils felt their power returning to normal. Naruto turned his focus on Armros as he attacked him with a giant light spear, making the blonde use his spiral sphere to counter it. Metatron joins the battle by launching light spears at the two locked in battle, making them separate. "You fucking bastard, how dare you destroy my barrier?" the fallen leader exclaimed with venom. "You mean that poorly made barrier that anyone can destroy?" the blonde replied cheekily. Growling with rage, Armros exclaimed, "You bastard, I'll kill you," as he formed light spears in each hand. "If you two are done talking, let's finish this," Metatron said calmly, while still watching the fallen angel and the devil, and also forming his own light-based weapons. "You will hear no arguments from me," Naruto said seriously, wanting to end the battle as soon as possible to reduce the amount of casualties on the devil's side during the current battle. A mix of darkness and tauki surrounded him. The three seemed to disappear as they engaged in a high-speed battle. The sound of their clashing filled the battlefield. All over the warzone, angels, fallen, and devils were fighting and dying. From among the 3 warring races, the fallen angels with the smallest number of fighters were being annihilated. The sudden fight came to a halt when Azazel, the true leader of all the fallen angels, appeared and ordered the surviving demons to retreat. As he launched a barrage of hundreds of light spears all over the battlefield to cover their escape. Armros scowled as he heard the order, but obeyed by disengaging from battle and teleporting away. But the fallen angels gone, Naruto and Metatron stood across from each other, waiting to see the other's next move. Let's call it a day, we can always kill each other tomorrow, Naruto suggested, having had enough of seeing people die today. The angels and devils present argued against retreating. They wanted to fight until the last of the enemies are slain. Silence, there has been enough killing today, let's retreat for now, Metatron ordered the angels, who reluctantly teleported away back to heaven. Naruto watched them go and ordered his subordinates to return to the underworld, he too followed. Satantia's state. A week had passed since the failed ambush by the fallen angels, and the blonde was currently in bed with Maria and Mio, both of them naked and sleeping on either side of him. Naruto was going over what he learned after the battle. Apparently, Armrose had gone behind Azazel's back and planned the whole thing, resulting in the deaths of over 40,000 fallen angels, further lowering their numbers. Lord Lucifer had commended him for his swift actions in destroying the barrier and pushing back the fallen angels. The father of devils then gave him a week off before his next mission, meaning his next task would be very important. The blonde thought over his long life, he had become a powerful devil, and he had also come to terms with his dreams. Apparently they were his past memories as Naruto Uzumaki. He used the dreams to help him control his chakra abilities. While the chakra in his dreams was similar, it was not the same as in his new life. He had to relearn how to utilize his abilities in his dreams in new ways. After his Bat Yakai teacher left, he trained in everything he was taught and improved on it. The blonde learns he can combine his chakra abilities with his magic, creating a powerful new energy that allows him to face enemies such as Azazel and Michael. The blonde sighed, thinking about the war. It had been going on longer than anyone could have imagined. When heaven officially declared war on devils and the fallen angels joined soon after, the conflict dragged on for years. At the moment heaven and the underworld were at a stalemate, neither side had the advantage, but something would happen to tip the war in someone's favor soon, he could feel it. The blonde looked down at his right hand to see two black rings on his index and middle fingers. They were something he and Lord Lucifer had been working on. They were based on the sacred relic he had stolen during his very first mission. The cube itself was useless since it was incomplete and required something to power it. Lord Lucifer had studied it for years before calling him and presenting him the prototypes, which were based on the cube. Lord Lucifer called them devil gears. He gave one to Lord Lucifuge as well, but they remained inactive and were to see what would happen to them after being exposed to powerful demonic magic for a long period of time. The blonde took the gift thankfully, as he didn't really have a choice. If Lord Lucifer had a request for you, you did it or faced the consequences. That's how he ended up with these devil gears. Naruto did some research on them and found out they could become active by sealing a powerful being inside it, and even if he poured all of his demonic power into it, it would still remain inactive if there isn't another entity inside it. The blonde told Lord Lucifer what he had discovered, and he was invited to come to the Lucifer estate to test his theory. He just had to figure out a way to escape Maria and Mio's tight embrace. They both had their arms wrapped around him with their legs intertwined. Lucifer estate. Naruto arrived inside and was ushered by Lord Lucifuge to the backyard where he had battled the Lucifer heir. He saw Lord Lucifer waiting alongside a huge basilisk that was pinned down in chains. "Good morning, Satantia heir. How are you today?" Lord Satan asked lazily, not really caring about the answer. "I am well, sir," Naruto answered quickly and politely. "Am I to assume we will be sealing the basilisk into a devil gear?" "Yes, we will be using it," the father of the devils confirmed. "Since it was your idea, you should do the sealing." Naruto replied, "I would be honored to do so." He then asked, "Which devil gear am I going to seal it into?" "I think Lord Lucifuge's devil gear will be the perfect test," Lucifer suggested, causing Lord Lucifuge to tear up a little at being of use to his lord. "Okay, I have no problem with that," the blonde said. "Lord Lucifuge, if you don't mind, would you please take off your shirt and lie down on the ground?" Lord Lucifuge did so without hesitation, and Naruto immediately began making the seals on his body that would lead to the devil gear itself taking the form of a bracelet. Naruto does this because the basilisk will be sealed inside the devil gear, but it will also share its power with the wielder. He has to link the basilisk and Lord Lucifuge's souls, which would make them have a similar relationship that he had with Kurama. Naruto thought it should also put in a feature that if the user of the devil gear dies, the soul of the sealed being will disconnect from and not die with them. When Naruto was done, he put his chakra and magic into the seals, making them glow purple as he sucked the basilisk inside before they disappeared into the Lucifer devil gear bracelet, which also began to glow. From my theory, the sacred relic is a storage device that can store powerful beings inside them, allowing whomever possesses them to use the stored being's power and add it to their own. Since devil gears are based on them, they have the same feature, Naruto explained, as Lord Lucifuge got up off the ground. "Yes, I have come to the same conclusion," the father of devils said. "Now, Lucifuge, show me what you can do. You should try to get in contact with the soul of the basilisk we just sealed. The bracelet is just the storage for its soul, body, and power," Naruto advised. Try to get the basilisk to work with you, but if you can't, then the bracelet should allow you to draw out its power anyway. Lord Lucifuge focused on the bracelet, soon he was surrounded by a purple poisonous aura that took the shape of the basilisk. Clap 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 clap. Well done, the sealing was a success. Now, we have a new weapon to fight our enemies, Lord Lucifer said with a smile as he clapped, causing Lord Lucifuge to burst into tears, while Naruto sweat dropped at the scene. The blonde Satantia was sure there must be some other features in the devil gear that they don't know about because it was basically a copy of the sacred relic he stole, and he was sure it was a lot more than just a storage device, but he didn't tell Lord Lucifer this because he knew the father of devils would become obsessed with making the devil gear better than the relic his father created. So this was a success. Lord Lucifer said. Now, Satanichia Air, what being do you wish to seal into your devil gear? Tell me and I will see if I can get it for you. Well, there is one being I am interested in, but he may be hard to get. I don't need all of his body, soul, or power, just a piece of it. Naruto said. The being I want is Samuel, the snake of Eden. My, you are certainly ambitious, Lord Lucifer said. Samuel is sealed within Cocytus, the ice hell, which is the deepest part of the underworld. It might be difficult to get him. Lord Lucifer paused, deep in thought. How about I assign you a mission, and you can bring anyone you want to help you retrieve Samuel? Thank you, Lord. I would be honored to lead such a mission, Naruto said with a deep bow. Great, now you're dismissed, the father of demons said. I have some tests I want to run on Lucifuge. As Lord Lucifer said this, Naruto felt a shiver go down his spine, and he mentally sent a look of pity to Lord Lucifuge, but he shuddered when he realized Lucifuge would accept anything Lord Lucifer did to him. With a final bow, Naruto teleported back to the Satantia estate. Satantia estate. Naruto informed his parents about what happened at the Lucifer estate before he made it back to his room. It was basically Maria and Mio's room too, since they had moved in with him many years ago. He thought about marrying them, but they rejected his proposal, not because they didn't love him, but because they were the daughters of a traitor. Hiring them as maids and fucking them would be seen as him putting them in their place, marrying them would lower his status and would make others suspicious of the Satantia clan. The blonde vowed to them that he would find a way for them to get married one day. Mio and Maria just smiled at him, but didn't say a word. Naruto entered his room to find the sisters giggling about something. They ran over to him when they saw him and pecked him on the lips. He told them about all of the day's events and the mission to the ice hell he would be going on in the future. The sisters demanded to be a part of the mission, and he agreed to take them. He told them he would see about getting them some devil gears to help protect themselves. The day turned into night, and the three were back in bed, looking forward to the future ahead. Satantia Estate. Naruto was with Mio and Maria at his personal training grounds. The reason for being there was to test out their new devil gears. The blonde was able to convince Lord Lucifer to give him 2 devil gears for his girlfriends. It was funny how easy it was to manipulate the father of all devils into giving him them. He just played on his pride, and he was more than happy to give him anything he wanted. In any case, Mio now had a devil gear in the form of a choker around her neck resembling a collar, while Maria had a pair of gauntlets. Naruto has been helping Lord Lucifer create the devil gears using his sealing technique. The Satan tried to use rune magic, but the results were inferior to his chakra sealing. Magic and chakra have their strengths and weaknesses. One strength of chakra techniques is that they are able to manipulate the soul and life force to a greater extent, making sealing a being's body, soul, and power easier. Therefore, Lord Lucifer made the blonde his assistant. The blonde theories that devil gears allow their users to become vessels for the sealed being's power, but by working together with the sealed being and the devil weapon wielder, they can achieve resonance, and a greater power will be born. Naruto was out here with them testing out their newly acquired powers. Sealed within Maria's gear is a chimera, and within Mio's is a Kilin. Both are hard to obtain, but they are well worth the effort. Mio's gear seemed to give her the power to breathe powerful flames and walk on air. It wasn't that impressive, considering they could all fly. Naruto was sure there was more to it, though only time would tell. Maria's gear granted her the ability to breathe fire and increased her strength. The blonde had them spar with each other, so they could get used to their new powers as if it were second nature. The day was also the day Lord Lucifer gave him the go-ahead to go to Cocytus. The blonde would be taking Mio and Maria, they weren't going to let him go on his own. Lord Lucifer had assigned Lord Lucifuge's daughter, Graphia, to accompany them. Graphia is going to meet him there, and then they are going to set out to Cocytus to retrieve a part of Samuel for his devil gear. They don't know how long the journey will take, so they have to make sure to take plenty of supplies. After training, they went back to the blonde bedroom to take a bath, and they did their morning rituals. Sometime later, Graphia was making her way through the hall of the Satantia estate, with a female guide leading her to the Satantia heir's bedroom. Her mind was still on the conversation she had with her father about the Satantia heir. He had basically ordered her to do whatever it took to become the future Lady Satantia. The silver-haired beauty could understand where her father was coming from. Naruto Satantia had become a powerful devil and a capable commander of his legions. He also had the favor of Lord Lucifer, something that a handful of devils ever received. Lord Lucifer even ordered his son Rizavam to leave the blonde alone, to his displeasure. However, Rizavam knew better than to cross his father, as he understood that it wasn't his power that made Lord Lucifer feared, but rather his ruthlessness and willingness to do whatever it took to get what he wanted, such as seen in his actions towards his own wife, Lilith. The father of devils has Lilith create armies of devils without rest, causing her health to decline as she can barely move. He sometimes offers Lilith up as a toy to his fellow Satans, and even his own father, Lord Lucifuge, has fucked her a few times when Lord Lucifer was pleased with his performance. Graphia shuddered at the thought of the state Lilith was in when she last saw her. She was being gangbanged by her father, Lord Lucifer, and her own son, Rizavam. Her father had forced her to watch to show her what would befall her if she was too willful. Apparently, Lilith had told Lord Lucifer no when he demanded that she make more devils for him. The result was seen in her current state as a fuck toy and devil-making machine. Graphia could only watch as the mother of all devils was brutalized, while the sound of her pitiful whimpering and the noise of her being fucked filled the room. In Graphia's opinion, Rizavam was the worst of them all. Lilith was his mother, and he was fucking her ass as if she were a common whore. Her father was bad too, but he was zealous to Lord Lucifer, and Lilith was just a piece of ass for him. The silver-haired devil was happy to be away from them. The Satantia heir seemed to be an unusual kind, but above all he was powerful, making most devils pause before doing anything against him. If spreading her legs was what it took to get away from her father and Lord Lucifer, then so be it. Rizavam was already starting to make advances towards her, and it was only thanks to fate she wasn't warming his bed. The Lucifuge heiress pushed these thoughts from her head as the female servant bowed before leaving her in front the door of the Satantia heir's room. Graphia knocked a few times but didn't get an answer, so she entered and found Naruto naked as the day he was born, balls deep in a red-haired woman with a voluptuous body who was on all fours with her face buried in a pillow, muffling her screams of pleasure. He had a small silver-haired girl next to him. They were currently exchanging spit in a deep passionate kiss. Naruto's hands were both on the red and silver-haired woman's asses, squeezing and slapping them. The silver-haired beauty stood there watching the three as they acted like animals in heat, the scent of their sex invading her nostrils, making her own juices start to flow in response. The blonde Satantia heir took notice of her presence but didn't stop. Instead, he looked her in the eyes and drilled into her soul with just a glance. The silver-haired woman stood still as he stared at her, feeling like she was being devoured by him. She felt her body shake as he switched to fucking the silver-haired girl who took his cock into her tiny tight cunt. The sight alone made the Graphia come from it. After they were finished, the two women took notice of her but made no attempt to cover themselves. They just led the Satantia heir to the bathroom. 1 hour later, Graphia was sitting on the bed where the trio had just been fucking. She had cleaned it with her magic and was waiting for their return. They must have started another round of sex in the bathroom because she could hear them fucking. Finally, to her relief, they emerged fully clothed with a satisfied look on their faces. The blonde summoned a chair and sat across from her. "So I assume you are ready to head out on the mission to Cocytus," the blonde stated as if she hadn't just seen them fucking each other's brains out. "Yes, I am ready to leave at once," Graphia replied with an emotionless face. "So, did you enjoy watching us fuck?" Maria asked teasingly, causing a faint blush to appear on Graphia's otherwise emotionless face. "Maria?" Mio shouted as he grabbed Maria, who was laughing hysterically at the chaos she had caused. "That's good." The blonde continued as if nothing had happened, causing everyone to have a collective sweat drop moment, but she didn't say anything else. "Okay, now this mission is going to be very dangerous," the blonde said seriously. "We will have to sneak through the realm of the dead in order to get to Cocytus, which is ruled by Hades and his grim reapers. We must try to avoid causing a scene if we can help it, but don't hesitate to defend yourselves. The mission's main objective is for me to get the Samuel and seal part of his soul and body into my devil gear," the blonde Satantia said. "I don't need to get all of him, but as long as I get a small piece, the fragment should be able to regenerate his full power within my devil gear." Naruto concluded, answering their unspoken question. "Are there any questions?" the blonde asked. Maria raised her hand and she motioned to her. "How are we going to get to the realm of the dead and back?" she questioned. "We are going to teleport near the realm of the dead, then we are going to pass through it using a magical map Lord Lucifer gave me to get to Cocytus. Once we get a piece of Samuel, we will retreat out of the realm of the dead and teleport back to the underworld," Naruto stated. "Are there any more questions?" Nobody said anything. "Okay, now get dressed like you're going into battle and carry an extra pair of warm clothes. Cocytus isn't called the ice hell for nothing," the blonde instructed. Outside the Satantia estate, Naruto, Maria, Mio, and Graphia were standing in front of Lady and Lord Satantia, who had come to see them off on the dangerous mission to Cocytus. "Remember to be careful and come back to us," Lady Satantia said. "If you see that old bag of bones called Hades, make sure to kick his ass for me," Lord Satantia joked. Making Lady Isha roll her eyes and laugh, knowing her son would never meet him. After they settled down, Lord and Lady gave their son a hug, making Graphia feel envious at the sight, as she had never received any affection from her own parents. They broke the hug and Naruto created the teleportation circle, transporting them to the edge of the realm of the dead. Order of the Realm of the Dead. The foursome of devils appeared near the realm of the dead, the place where Hades, the Greek god of the underworld, the Grim Reapers, and the souls of the dead reside. Lord Lucifer had given him a magic compass that will guide him through the realm of the dead to Cocytus and back. The first thing Naruto noticed was the lack of life around them, even the natural energy felt dead. The blonde swore to himself he wouldn't use it because it might have some serious side effects. Well, he still had his magic, Kai, Chakra and Tauki, so he had plenty of power. He looked at the team, Graphia, Mio and Maria, all in combat gear, ready for war if needed. Naruto turned to them and spoke. "Okay, now that we're in the realm of the dead, we need to pass through it quickly without drawing any attention to ourselves," the blonde said. The three she-devils nodded as they set out through the realm of Hades. As they passed, they saw some Grim Reapers, but they quickly hid from their sight. The Grim Reapers had the appearance of skeletons wearing dark robes. From what Naruto knew, they all had death scythes that had a powerful curse that would shorten the lifespan of anyone who was cut by them. When they were about halfway across the realm of Hades, a group of 5 male Grim Reapers somehow noticed their presence and began to trail them. The Satantia heir knew he had to act fast before they could call for backup. He quickly created a barrier using sealing jutsu mixed with rune magic, covering the area and trapping everyone inside. Inside barrier, Graphia looked at the barrier and was impressed by it. It would take a powerful ultimate class ability to break it. She assumed it not only hid their presence, but also kept the enemies from escaping, allowing them to eliminate them without fear of being found out. Mio and Maria already knew about the blonde's abilities, so they didn't even give the barrier a glance. Instead, they jumped at the Grim Reapers with their magic ready to destroy them as quickly as possible. The Grim Reapers dodged their attack by teleporting away, leaving afterimages that the Satantia maids went through. However, they quickly recovered as the Grim Reapers appeared a few feet in front of them. "Who the hell are you trespassers?" one Grim Reaper shouted. "We have no obligation to answer any of your questions," the blonde said. "Just kindly die for us." "Screw you, bastards," the other Grim Reaper growled before teleporting behind the blonde with his death scythe ready to cut the blonde in half. Naruto reacted by using shadow walking behind the Grim Reaper and slammed a spiral ball into its back, making it scream in pain as the attack consumed it. The other Grim Reapers jumped at the blonde when they saw what had happened to their comrade, but Graphia created a wall of ice to block their path, and Mio used her gravity magic to pin them to the ground. Maria attacked the pinned Reapers by embedding her fists with her gravity magic and bashed their skulls in one after another until they were all dead, except for the one who had taken the spiral ball from their blonde master. The last living Grim Reaper was cursing them, swearing it would kill them and get its revenge. As injured as it was from taking the blonde's attack, it was trying to get to its feet. Taking a look at the creature, Naruto could see it clearly. It was a living skeleton, and it looked almost comical in the way it moved. The blonde was about to finish it off when a thought crossed his mind. A Grim Reaper would make for a powerful devil gear. Despite defeating it so easily, it was a powerful being that could be considered a demigod with a lot of room to grow. With that in mind, the blonde made his hands into a square shape and began to seal the Grim Reaper to use it later to create a powerful devil gear. The transparent barrier surrounded the Reaper and slowly shrank in on it until it disappeared with the Reaper inside it. Graphia marveled at the level of sealing technique. Well, the Reaper wasn't anything special. The sealing technique the blonde used was of a master's level. It was no wonder his father wanted her to be with him, and Lord Lucifer favored him. The underworld had people who could use sealing techniques, but none were on the same level as the Satantia heir. He was leagues ahead. "Okay, we're done here," Naruto said, snapping Graphia out of her thoughts as she saw Mio and Maria at his side, ready to go. The silver-haired Lucifuge blushed cutely when she saw them looking at her, waiting for her to come over so they could go. Outside barrier, when they exited the barrier, Graphia noticed that the surroundings were unchanged as if nothing had happened. The blonde must have noticed her confused state and decided to explain. "The barrier I erected creates a pocket space by sealing the area within the barrier in another dimension. Those on the outside will not notice the barrier and can walk through it, while those on the inside are trapped until the barrier is destroyed," the blonde explains to Graphia in awe and arousal. Female devils are naturally attracted to powerful beings, and the display made her get more than a little wet. Cocytus. They managed to make it to Cocytus by crossing a river that separates it from the realm of the dead. They changed their clothes with magic to warmer ones. Naruto knows it will be hard to pass through the realm of the dead for a second time, as the Grim Reaper will be looking for their missing comrades, and when they don't find them, they will lock the realm down to search for anything missed. The blonde had no time for anything else, so he focused on finding Samuel, who was sealed on the lower level of Cocytus. While traveling, they encountered a herd of pale horses, one of the rare creatures in the supernatural world. The blonde saw another opportunity to gain more power and ordered Mio to restrain the pale horses while he sealed them away. When he was done, he had captured approximately 20 of the pale horses. The trio went deep into Cocytus following the compass Lord Lucifer had given the blonde. The further they went, the colder it got. It reached a point where the cold began to affect Graphia, a devil who could manipulate ice. The blonde saw everyone shivering and decided to stop for the day. He formed another barrier that was 20x 20 feet on the inside. The ice of Cocytus couldn't reach the inside. Mio used fire magic to melt all the ice on the inside, leaving the inside warm and dry. Maria sighed in relief. It seemed she was the most affected by the cold. The two maids summoned some pots and pans with some food to start cooking to replenish everyone's energy. Graphia stood beside the blonde Satantia heir as he examined the pale horse partially unsealed by his hand. Pale horses were closely associated with death and possessed some unusual powers, such as the ability to sense when someone is about to die, though the exact nature of those powers remained unknown. The female Lucifuge decided now was as good a time as any to begin her seduction of the Satantia heir. She started to remove her clothes as inside the barrier it was warm and the clothes she had on were making her sweat. Graphia stripped down in front of Naruto until she was wearing only her bra and panties with a garter belt. She spread her clothes out so they could dry. She noticed the blonde was still looking at her the entire time she was removing her clothes, forgetting about examining the pale horse. This made the Lucifuge smile on the inside, but blushed a little when the blonde looked at the damp spot between her legs from earlier that hadn't quite dried yet, but she didn't try to cover herself, because if her plan worked, he would get to see a lot more. The Lucifuge swayed her hips as she walked slowly over to the blonde and sat next to him. He snapped himself out of the lust-filled trance as he re-examined the pale horse. Graphia watched him without saying a word as she moved closer to the blonde, eventually coming to the point where she was almost sitting on his lap as he took in her scent. It would be around the time Graphia was grinding her hips against the blonde that Maria called them over for something to eat. The blonde got up with an erection, but no one commented on it as the sister maids saw what Graphia was doing and just gave her a sweet smile. It was after they had eaten that the sisters pulled Naruto aside and began to strip him as they discarded their own clothes, leaving the three naked. Not caring that Graphia was a couple of feet away, the sisters made Naruto lie down on the ground as they got to work pleasuring him to relieve the blue ball Graphia had given him. Outside barrier, the four devils, now warmed and fully dressed from their activities and having had a full 8 hours of rest, were ready to continue their journey to Cocytus to find Samuel. During their journey, they managed to find a deep cave that goes so far down that the bottom cannot be seen. Mio summons a fireball as they enter the cavern, using her wings to slow their descent. Finally, they begin to feel some strong negative emotions, which was strange since none of them had that ability except the Satantia heir when he uses Senjutsu. Following the feeling of a creature that was nailed to a cross, it had the upper body of a fallen angel and the lower body of a serpent. It was also blindfolded with blood dripping from its eyes. Naruto gave a wide smile at the sight, even though it was monstrous. They had found the Dragon Eater Samuel. Just being in his presence made you feel like you were being cursed out of existence. The blonde took a closer look and found that Samuel also had ancient seals all over him. His excitement grew as he might be able to learn something from them while absorbing some of Samuel's body, soul, and power. Mio asked, concerned, "Master, are you sure you want to do this? I have to agree with my big sis, this thing feels like it's a curse come to life." Maria said, agreeing with her sister. Graphia remained silent and observed the interaction between the trio. She didn't know the blonde well enough to try to persuade him to do or not do anything, even though she had sucked his cock and swallowed his seed, they were still strangers. She was also surprised by the amount of freedom he allowed his servants. If she spoke to any of the Lucifers, even her father, in such a manner, she shuddered to think what they would do to her. She pushed the thought aside and listened to what was being said. "No need to worry, girls," Naruto replied. "The devil gears are designed for situations like these. They can contain powerful beings within them, and the user can utilize their powers. We know that, but this thing doesn't look like anything good will come out of being near it. Much like sealing it inside your devil gear," Mio said, trying to get her master to change his mind. "Look, I know you two are worried about me, but I will be fine, and for our future happiness Samuel's power is needed," the blonde stated as he stepped forward. Samuel must have sensed his presence because it started to move, but the nails and seals prevented it from moving. Then it spoke. "Have you come to inflict more pain upon me, Lord?" Samuel screamed madly. "I curse you and everything you have created. When I am free, I shall destroy all of creation." The blonde glanced back at Mio and Maria, who both had a flat expression on their faces, while the Satantia just mouthed "it will be okay," causing the two girls to have a twitch of their eyebrows as Samuel continued to say darker and darker things. The blonde ignored Samuel's crazy ramblings as he had most likely lost his mind from being sealed for so long. The blonde examined the seals, seeing that it was almost impossible for Samuel to ever be fully freed, but there were some loopholes. What he had to do was break apart a portion of the seal that was around his right hand and seal it into his devil gear. However, another problem arose because the God of the Bible would receive an alert that the seal had been broken, so he might come here. They didn't want this to happen since the Bible God was extremely powerful and they wouldn't be able to survive such an encounter. Naruto knew he had to break the seal as quickly as possible and escape to the realm of Hades, where thousands of Grim Reapers might be gunning for their heads, but they would have a better chance against them. Stealing his resolve, Naruto studies the seals around Samuel's right hand, taking mental notes on them for later, before he gathered his chakra and magic and focused it on unraveling the seal. Minutes pass on, the seals began to glow and retreat from Samuel's right arm to his torso. The feeling of the curse intensified as the seal on the hand was removed. The Dragon Eater tried to move his hand to attack, but Naruto brought forth his devil gear and yelled, "Seal." The arm was sucked into the twin rings on the blonde's fingers. The devil gear glowed a sickening purple color before returning to normal, with only a hint of the dragon's power still being felt. Nodding in satisfaction, the Satantia ordered his team to retreat as they used their wings to fly away at top speed. Minutes later, a powerful holy power filled the entirety of Cocytus. Even Hades himself in his own realm felt his presence and scowled, but did nothing else. The figure approached Samuel with a great sadness in his eyes. "My son, what have they done to you?" The God of the Bible asked as he healed his son's missing arm, regrowing it before reapplying the seal. "You dare ask me that question?" the snake from Eden shouted in rage. "You are the one who did this to me, you monkey-loving fool. Yes, I do favor the humans, but they have a lot of potential. When you went against my wishes and tempted them with the apple, you betrayed me and started a chain of events that may destroy everything," God explained softly. "I only tempted them with the apple, but they were the ones who ate it," Samuel shouted. "Face it, humans are a greedy, evil race." I, the leader of heaven, said. "I didn't come here to argue with you." He looked at his son and asked, "Do you know who took your hands?" The Dragon Eater remained silent for the first time since the arrival of the Bible. Clearly, he wasn't going to answer the question. "I hope whoever took my hand wraps it around your hypocritical throat and strangles you with it," Samuel said darkly, wishing the worst fate on his father. "I know you do, son," the leader in heaven said tiredly. "I'm sorry." The biblical God teleported back to heaven, leaving Samuel alone once more. He could feel the hand that had been stolen from him sealed inside something attached to a devil, the enemy of God. Just thinking about it made Samuel laugh. He was eager to see what the future would bring. The border of the land of Hades. The group of four was resting to regain their full strength before venturing into the realm of the dead. Naruto knew by now the comrades of the Grim Reaper they battled would notice they were missing, but he didn't think it would be a situation where they would lock down Hades. More than likely, they will up the security and send out search parties to find the missing Reapers, not like they will, though. The barrier the Satantia Air made can only be breached by either an ultimate class being or a seal master, and he doubts that a few missing mid-class Grim Reapers will get that much attention. But to be on the safe side, the blonde went over an emergency escape plan with the team while resting inside a barrier he created around them to hide their presence. The plan was simple. While they were making their first trip through Hades, the blonde had placed markers so he could teleport to 5 locations throughout Hades to get to the point where they could just teleport back to the underworld. These markers were required to teleport because the realm of the dead had something that blocked any kind of teleportation besides those used by the Reapers. The markers were the Satantia Air's way around this, so they just had to get to the first marker and they could hopscotch out of the realm of the dead then into the underworld. Naruto placed a seal on each of them to allow them to use the markers if they get separated. With that in mind, they got some sleep, with Mio and Maria cuddling up to the blonde sides, and Grafia, who was a few feet away, was pulled into Naruto's lap, making her have a full face blush. Realm of Hades. While stealthily making their way through Hades, Naruto realized that there were indeed a lot more Grim Reapers all over the streets, but most of them were weak. However, if they got into a fight, it might draw on the stronger ones, and eventually Hades himself. The 4 devils were close to the first marker and their escape from the realm of the dead, but their path was blocked by a Grim Reaper whose robe was darker than any other Reaper and wore a creepy clown mask. Naruto cursed under his breath. It seemed their luck had run out because the Grim Reaper was one of the most powerful ones that Lord Lucifer had told him about. He was Pluto, one of Hades' generals. Well, what do we have here?" said Pluto. "Some little devils, you are a long way from home," he added. "Yes, we just took a wrong turn," the blonde replied in a cheeky voice. "We'll be on our way and out of your hair soon." "No need to leave, in fact, I think you will be here for a very long time," the Grim Reaper said as he summoned his death scythe, which was darker than the others they had faced. "Is that so? Well, there's no helping it. Grafia takes Mio and Maria to the marker, I will meet you there," the blonde devil ordered as he got ready for battle. Mio and Maria hesitated for a moment before Naruto glanced at them to let them know he was acting as the commander, not as their lover. It was an order from a superior. They nodded at him and followed Grafia away. Pluto didn't move to pursue them, but kept his eyes on the blonde. "Thank you for allowing them to leave," the Satantia heir said honestly. "It would have been troublesome if they had stayed. I didn't let them go, but we both know the moment I turned my attention to them you would have attacked. You are the most dangerous of the bunch after all," the general of Hades said. "Besides, my subordinates will capture them." "I wonder," he said, "I think we are done talking." Naruto replied before disappearing and reappearing behind Pluto, who did the same and was now behind the blonde with his death scythe, ready to cut him in half. With Grafia, Mio and Maria, Grafia and the two Satantia maids were attacked by a group of 3 Grim Reapers when they were almost at the marker, but the path was blocked. "You filthy devils, what have you done with my brother?" shouted one of the Reapers. "I don't think you want to know," Maria said as she used her key magic to transform into her adult form. "What does that supposed to mean, you bitch?" the same Reaper shouted. "I mean you would want to know your brother died by my hand when I bashed his skull in with my fist." Maria replied casually, making the Reaper shake with rage as his 2 comrades growled at him for killing their friend. Face-palming at the spectacle Maria was making, Mio knew she was purposely antagonizing the Reapers in order to get them to make a mistake, but she was taking it way too far. Grafia remained silent and waited patiently for the opportunity to strike against the Reapers. The Grim Reapers charged the devils with bloodlust, Maria charged at them while Grafia and Mio provided long-range support. Back with Naruto, Pluto cleaved the blonde in half, but he burst into smoke, then the Reaper felt a pain in his side. He looked to see the blonde unharmed drilling an orb of darkness into his ribs, sending him flying a great distance away from the blonde. The attack was his new and improved spiral ball, made with chakra and magic, increasing its power to new heights. He could hear the Grim Reaper's shouts of anger and pain, but he didn't care and fled to where he felt his precious people were. He came up to where Grafia and the others were and found them. Maria had just punched off the head of a Reaper, then Grafia froze 2 other Reapers, and Mio crushed them with her gravity magic. The blonde didn't even greet them, but instead ushered them to the marker as the devils teleported away. Pluto appeared in rage at being caught off guard, not that his comrades had died. They appeared by the second marker and immediately teleported to the next until they were outside the realm of the dead. They felt a wave of dread as a powerful aura approached quickly. They had no idea who it was but did want to find out, so they teleported to the underworld. As Hades, the god of the underworld, appeared. Looking around for any sign of the intruders on his realm, Hades muttered, "Damn devils, they and the entire biblical faction are nothing but trouble. I will be rid of them one day." Underworld. Outside the Satantia estate, the 4 devils were relieved to be back home. Naruto went home to meet his parents to show them that he was okay, and then he and Grafia would report their success to Lord Lucifer. Naruto went over what he had received from his trip, pale horses, a Grim Reaper, and the arm of Samuel. All in all, the mission was a complete success. After he told his parents about his adventures, he allowed Grafia to join him in his master bathroom to freshen up for the meeting with Lord Lucifer. All 4 devils were naked while Mio and Maria were cleaning the blonde's bodies, then they shooed him out of the room, leaving them alone with Grafia. Mio and Maria were now helping the blushing Grafia clean herself thoroughly, touching her in places no other person had touched before, while they started to interrogate her. "So, Grafia, what is your objective here?" Mio asked in a monotone voice as she continued to wash the lucifuge. "I don't know what you are talking about," Grafia replied, not showing any emotions on her face. "What my sister means to say is, why are you trying to seduce our master?" Maria stated, getting straight to the point. "Depending on your reply, you will not leave here alive. Is that a threat?" "I don't think you are in any position to make it." The female lucifuge replied as she was about to leave, but realized she couldn't move and her magic wasn't responding to her. "You know we serve under a devil who is a seal master, we can make a seal to bind your magic at least for a short time." Mio stated as her eyes started to glow, making Grafia shiver as she saw what she and her sister were capable of doing. "So you have 2 choices," Mio said. "You can tell us the truth and we'll let you go, or you can lie and die here and we'll send your body back to the realm of Hades." Grafia thought about her opinions and signed. "My father gave me the mission to seduce the Satantia heir and become the new Lady Satantia to secure our clan's future," she said. "Right now, your master has the favor of Lord Lucifer and I want to get as far away from my family even if it means selling my body to do so." Maria looked at Mio before nodding. "Now, was that so hard? We understand and will help you out." "What? But aren't you in a relationship with the Satantia heir?" the lucifuge asked. "We are due to our family status we cannot marry Naruto, but we will be his concubines for now." Mio replied, reminding Grafia they were the daughters of rebels, so their status and power had been stripped away from them. It was a miracle they were still alive. Grafia nodded in understanding. Lucifer Estate. After reporting to Lord Lucifer, he was extremely pleased with what he heard to the point he said he had a surprise for the blonde. Naruto just thanked him, and the father of devils dismissed Graphia. They then went to seal the pale horses and Grim Reaper into some devil gears. The blonde used 19 of the 20 pale horses he had, and the Grim Reaper who was cursing him to Lucifer's amusement as he was sealed. Lucifer patted the blonde on the back and told him to come back tomorrow for his reward. A dismissal when he heard it, the blonde left Lucifer's lab. When he exited, he met Graphia at the door waiting for him. "Is there something you need from me before I leave?" Naruto asked. Graphia remained silent and refused to make eye contact. The blonde said, "Do you want to come home with me? My bed is big enough for one more person." Naruto joked. Graphia's head snapped up in fluster as she gave a wide-eyed look, but she didn't dispute what the blonde had said, causing him to be stunned for a moment before he continued. "Do you want to go back to the Satantia mansion with me?" Naruto asked him seriously. Graphia gave a shy nod, causing Naruto to sigh. "Wouldn't your father be against this? You are after all his only daughter." "I'm perfectly fine with it," Lord Lucifuge stated as he approached the blonde with a bag in his hand. "Here is a bag of her things, I would bring the rest, but I suppose you will buy more clothes for her to wear." "Yeah, I don't mind buying her clothes," the blonde said, confused as to why Lord Lucifuge would be kicking his daughter out. "Okay then, I'll leave you two alone." Lord Lucifuge said his goodbyes to Graphia and went to attend to Lord Lucifer. "Well, that was weird, but if you are getting kicked out, I don't mind letting you stay at the Satantia estate," Naruto said. Graphia just stared at the blonde idiot her father had basically given her to. The blonde didn't get it and just thought she was being kicked out. She supposed she found that cluelessness of his cute, but now she had to find a way to become Lady Satantia. The blonde grabbed her hand in his and led her out of the Lucifer mansion, making her heart beat hard in her chest. It was as if he had come to save her from her living nightmare of living in this place. The Lucifer estate was like living in a living nightmare for everyone who wasn't Lord Lucifer, his son, or their father. The servants didn't know when they would die. The pretty female and male servants knew that they would be called to warm a bed sooner or later, and usually it was unfortunate that they were never the same afterwards, especially if Rizavum got his hands on them. Graphia saw the Satantia heir with his servants and how the servants acted around him. There was respect and love in their actions. She watched where they were holding hands with their fingers intertwined, hoping he remained the same and didn't let the Lord of Devils influence him. The Devil's capital Lucifid. Naruto arrived at the Lucifer mansion to meet Lord Lucifer to receive his reward for the successful completion of the mission to Hades. Lord Lucifuge had ushered him to a secret chamber in the basement of the Lucifer mansion where he met the father of all devils. "Good morning, Naruto. How are you doing today?" Lord Lucifer asked with a strangely kind look in his eyes. "I'm doing good, thanks for asking," Naruto answered. The Morning Star said, "That's good, now follow me to your reward." The three devils entered a room that looked like a luxurious bedroom, with a beautiful naked red-eyed woman lying down on a large bed. The table next to the bed was filled with different sex toys and torture devices. The father of all devil walked over to the bed and lifted the female by her hair, taking her off the bed, fully exposing her body to the blonde. She was a beautiful crimson-haired woman with matching red eyes that looked lifeless, as if they were dead to the world. The blonde's eyes wandered even though he tried to focus on the woman's face. She had a MILF figure, huge tits and ass, and wide hips. It was how Lucifer treated the woman that worried the blonde. "This here is your reward," Lord Lucifer stated as he threw the woman into the blonde's arms. Naruto caught her and noticed that she didn't resist or even acknowledge their presence. It was like she was just there physically, but her mind was elsewhere. "What do you mean, my lord?" Naruto was confused as to what was happening. "That woman in your hands is Lilith, the mother of devils," Lord Lucifer answered. "You are to fuck her until your balls are empty," the father of devils ordered. "But isn't she your wife?" The blonde asked, even more confused than before. The father of devils wanted him to fuck his wife. The blonde wondered if the devil had a cuck fetish. "Yes, that so is my wife, but she has refused to willingly fulfill her duties and keep producing more demons for my army, therefore, she needs to be disciplined," the father of lies explained. The blonde didn't know how to respond to that. He knew Lucifer was cruel, but breaking his own wife and using her as a prize to be given to anyone he wanted to reward was something he didn't expect. "As your reward, you are to pound all of her holes, now get to it," Lord Lucifer ordered. Naruto was stunned by what was happening. The father of all devils had basically ordered him to rape his wife as his reward, while also serves as punishment to her for defying him. The blonde thought of a way he could decline the reward but couldn't find one, and he couldn't risk earning Lord Lucifer's wrath, so with great reluctance, the blonde removed his clothes while Lilith just stood motionless by his side. Seeing Lord Lucifer and his servant distracted, Naruto acted by going into Lilith's mindscape. It was dark and covered in water, representing her state of mind. Inside mindscape, Naruto found Lilith wrapped in chains, unable to move. She had a window in front of her, forcing her to watch all that was happening to her body. It seemed she was not as broken as he first thought, but a prisoner of her own body, bound by some sort of spell or curse Lord Lucifer had cast upon her. "Hello, my lady," the blonde said, catching Lilith's attention. She was surprised that anyone was able to get this deep into her mind. "I am here to rescue you." "Ahaha, rescue me," he says, the mother of devils laughed. "How were my holes? I hope they were to your liking," she asked scornfully. "Your holes were exquisite, but I'm not here to talk about them," the blonde replied, no longer caring about raping her. From what he felt from her, she was just as evil as Lord Lucifer. The blonde was starting to rethink helping her. Lilith was kind of surprised by the blonde's reply since from what she could see and feel he seemed kind-hearted and she was hoping to use that against him so he would release her, but it seems she will have to think of something else. "I will ask you one more time, Lilith," the blonde said with cold blue eyes that made Lilith shiver. "Choose your words carefully and quickly because there is only a small window of opportunity." Lilith looked at the blonde Satantia before her. He was a descendant of one of her children and his power was no joke. She thought about her current situation and saw that she had nothing to lose. "Fine, I will accept your help, but remember this, I yield to no man," Lilith said as she watched the blonde walk up to her and place his mouth on hers, sucking her mind and soul into his mindscape. Outside mindscape, the blonde exited the mindscape to find Lilith on her stomach on the bed, with semen leaking from all her used holes. Lord Lucifer and Lucifuge looked pleased with themselves, so the blonde acted so as well. Naruto thanked Lord Lucifer for the reward and left the Lucifer mansion and headed home. The blonde had an idea on how to use Lilith, but he would have to be careful with his next move, so Lord Lucifer didn't get suspicious. Satantia Mansion. Naruto was greeted by Mio, Maria and Grafia, who was his new maid. After she had come to live here, it was decided she would attend to him along with the two sisters. He tried to get everyone to change their minds because she was the daughter of a high-class devil. She should have a better position, but she agreed to work as his maid and wouldn't hear anything else. He looked at her specifically, her devil gear which was in the form of a tattoo. His plan for Lilith was to seal her into Grafia's devil gear, but he wanted to make sure she could be trusted first. His original plan before feeling Lilith's evil aura was to seal her soul into a recently deceased female devil's body, but she was too dangerous to let loose on her own. He would have to see how things go with Grafia, but if they went as expected, she would be the new mother of the devils. The war has also been going on with no end in sight, and the only way he sees it ending is with either the Satan's death or the God of the Bibles, or possibly both. Sighing, the blonde decided to push the depressing thoughts aside. It was already time for dinner, and he was exhausted from everything that had happened today. Naruto's bedroom. It seemed as if Maria, Mio, and Grafia didn't care that he was tired, they all wanted his attention. Grafia had her own room, but chose to stay in his. She also remained in the room while he had sex with Maria and Mio while masturbating to the show. They hadn't gone all the way yet, but it seemed like tonight would be different. The blonde knew that the war was going to last for a long time and many demons would die. Lord Lucifer and the other Satan would be an issue in the future, so he had to set plans in motion to ensure his loved ones' survival for now and how to eliminate the Satans in the future. Naruto looked at Grafia and he would put his faith in her, he would give her a chance, but if she broke that trust, he would eliminate her without remorse. Human world. Naruto was in an intense battle with the Archangel Gabriel, who was a beautiful blonde-haired woman that wore a blindfold over her eyes. Her body was what he would expect a succubus to have, making him think the biblical god was a bit of a pervert. Gabriel threw hundreds of light spears at the blonde devil, but he released his darkness, creating a black hole that absorbed the light spears aimed at him. Naruto then vanished and tried to cut Gabriel's head off, but she ducked and disappeared in a flash of light. She reappeared behind him with a light spear, which she thrust forward, aimed at the devil's heart. The Satantia air blocked her attack by creating a sword of pure darkness. They then engaged in a furious battle, exchanging crippling blows. All around them, devils, angels, and fallen were fighting each other, trying to kill each other with everything they had. Not too far from them, the biblical god was fighting the four Satans. The amount of holy and demonic magic being released made Naruto's skin crawl. The funny part is that Naruto could tell the biblical god was stronger than the four Satans combined, and by all rights he could have killed them all and finished the battle, but he didn't. He confused the blonde devil, but if he had to guess, the god of the Bible might have been holding back because he did just that, kill his own children. Naruto didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This entire situation was a family dispute between a single father and his children. It was maddening to think the entire devil race had been created over such a petty reason. Underworld. After the battle, the survivors were ordered to retreat. Naruto found himself back at the Satantia mansion where he was being washed by his wife, Grafia, with Mio and Maria right there helping her. 500 years had passed since he was rewarded by Lord Lucifer and sealed Lilith's soul. He had entered a relationship with Grafia, but he didn't fully trust her at first. After 100 years passed and they went into many battles together, he began to trust her, but he still used a seal that Graphia willingly allowed him to place on her to force her to tell the truth. He made sure she wasn't a spy for Lord Lucifer or her father. After that, the blonde began to open up to her and told her a bit about his plans, making her go into shock and not talking to him for days. He was worried that she would report him to her father or worse, Lord Lucifer, but she came up to him and they had a private conversation where she said she would follow him before getting down on one knee and swearing her loyalty. Their relationship improved to the point where he felt the same way for Graphia as he does for Mio and Maria. The sister maids must have known how he felt, so they pushed him to marry her. Naruto was hesitant because he didn't want to hurt their feelings, but they assured him that if his plan worked out, they would all be fine and he could marry them too in the future. They then explained that marrying Graphia would also protect her from her father, since as it was she was still a Lucifuge, and he could take her back and do with her as he wished. Flashback: so you're telling me that because I'm not married to Graphia, Lord Lucifuge can just come and take her? The blonde asked. Yes, sadly, at this moment she is still a Lucifuge and thus falls under her father's authority, Mio stated. Over my dead body, the blonde said with a growl as she tightly held onto Graphia, causing her to blush. Then you will have to marry her, you idiot, Maria said while sending a teasing smile at the female Lucifuge. Are you too sure? The blonde asked. Would it not hurt your feelings if I were to marry someone before I do too? Honestly, I am a bit nervous, but if everything works out like you plan, we will get married too, and it's to protect Graphia, so I'm okay with it. Mio replied with a small sad smile, causing Naruto to swear to make her feel better soon. She said, I'm okay with it, I always knew you would have to marry someone else, so it's no big deal. Maria spoke with a wide, cheerful smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Seeing his maid so sad, Naruto wrapped them both in a hug, with Graphia still in his arms. He promised he would find a way to marry them and make them happy for the rest of their lives. Fast forward, it was the day of the wedding, and Naruto was getting ready with the help of Maria and Mio, Graphia's two bridesmaids. Naruto was strangely nervous, he didn't know why, since he had slept with Graphia more times than he could count, but the thought of marriage made him tense. His father must have noticed, for he came up to him and gave him a slap on the back. What's wrong? You look like a scared animal ready to pounce. Lord Satantia said jokingly. Naruto said, I don't look like a cornered animal. Before he admitted, but I am really nervous. Well, that is to be expected, said Damien. Now that you're getting married, you will have to be more responsible because your decisions will also reflect on your wife. Naruto thought about it for a moment and realized he was right. He was nervous because now if he missed a step or his plan for the future failed, Graphia would be in the direct line of fire. His parents could exile him if he failed, and Mio and Maria were just maids, so nobody would think of them if his future plans failed. Should I marry Graphia? The blonde asked himself, not wanting to put her in any more danger than she already was. His thoughts were interrupted when his father brought his fist down on his head. What was that for, old man? Naruto exclaimed. That was for being an idiot and thinking about calling off the wedding. You're thinking about the future too much. Live in the now, Lord Satantia stated. Naruto looked at his father and took his advice seriously. He loved how his father reminded him of Jiraiya and could lift his mood with a few words and actions. But he was right, if he doubted himself, he would fail. So, he decided to let go of his worries and marry Graphia now. And later on, he would also marry Mio and Maria, no matter what. Thank you, Naruto said after taking a deep breath. It is what fathers are for, Damien replied with a laugh. To keep my idiot son in line. Naruto got pissed off at being called an idiot, resulting in him and his father getting into a brawl. Meanwhile, Mio and Maria sweat dropped at the sight. The fight eventually ended when Lady Satantia came in and slammed her fists onto the father and son duo's heads. Flashback end. The wedding was a short but celebrated affair. Lord Lucifer and Lucifuge were there with many of the pillar heads. Marriages for devils are basically the female devil's family crest is removed by the clan head and she is given a new crest by her husband to symbolize that she married into his family, also it is to show she is his now. In the following days, the blonde sealed Lilith's soul into Graphia's devil gear, which is a tattoo on the middle of her chest. Lilith was resistant to working with Graphia at first, even though she knew they were plotting against her hated husband. However, she changed her tone when Naruto made the seal give her all the sensations of when he makes love to Graphia, but she can't orgasm. In the end, she gave up and allowed Graphia to use her power, which was the power to copy any devil's ability. This made sense since she was the mother of the devil race, therefore, Graphia could potentially be used to create more devils like Lilith. They were extremely careful to keep this information secret. Naruto has also started to master his devil gears, which are 2 rings on his fingers. When activated, they surround him in a cursed aura that takes the shape of a dragon. Anything that comes into contact with it will become weaker and eventually die depending on their strength. The weaker ones will die instantly, while the stronger ones will gradually lose power until they die as well. The Satantia heir thought about the future, what he had to do now: stockpile power and gain trusted allies. But he had to be as discreet as possible to not draw negative attention to himself. The war was basically a stalemate. The devils that died were replaced by Lord Lucifer, creating new ones, while the biblical God did the same for the angels that died or fell. The fallen angels' numbers continued to grow as long as there were angels, making the war a never-ending conflict. It was a frustrating situation, but it also presented many opportunities for the blonde because Lucifer and the other Satans were preoccupied on the war front. He could gain power while their attention was elsewhere. So far, his father had been deployed in an ambush plan involving the Archangel Michael, who was supposed to weaken heaven. The devil, known as Lord Lucifer, had claimed he would face the biblical God, while Lord Satan would eliminate Michael. Naruto was left behind because he and his troops had been deployed 2 weeks ago to repel some fallen angels. They spent days battling them before they retreated after injuring their leader. Lord Lucifer gave him the time to rest and recover, but the blonde wished he could be out there watching his father's back, but all he could do was hope that the mission his father was on went well. Human world. Lord and Lady Satantia were engaged in intense battles with the two archangels Michael and Uriel. While Michael is the strongest archangel, Uriel is one of the most versatile, able to use different elements in battle besides light, such as fire or darkness. The plan to assassinate Michael hasn't been going well. Uriel isn't supposed to be at his side, and as the battle rages on, more and more angels appear. It was only thanks to Lord and Lady Satantia and the other clan heads that the devil's side of the battle had not been completely destroyed yet, but at the rate things were going, it was just a matter of time before they were annihilated. Lady Isha was holding her own against Uriel using her power of divination and her summoned spirits whom she had given puppet bodies she prepared in advance. She had 4 servants, a bat yakai, a 6-winged fallen angel, a devil with a high amount of demonic power with black hair and eyes, and finally a red high-class dragon. "Be purified by my power, you wretched creature," shouted Angel Uriel as he shot a combination of light, dark, and fire magic at Lady Satantia. In response, she had her summoned servants retaliate with their own attacks. The two opposing attacks cancelled each other out, but both angel and devil launched themselves at the other, wanting to rip the other apart. The battle continued with Uriel using his power over the elements to attack Lady Isha, and she used her servants to counter the angel's attacks before engaging in close-hand combat. On the other side of the battlefield, Lord Satantia was battling Michael, the strongest archangel. While he didn't command the elements like Uriel, his holy light was on another level. It burned just being in the same area with him. The archangel summoned hundreds of light spears and aimed them at the devil of darkness. Lord Damien tried to dodge the light spears, but they kept on following him. So, he used his darkness lash to create a rift in space to suck the light spears into it. But as soon as the light spears were gone, Michael was in front of him with his holy sword drawn, ready to cut his head off. The two engaged in an intense sword duel of light and darkness. Those around them didn't dare get close, out of fear of being drawn into their battle of angels and demons. They were pretty evenly matched, but it would take one mistake to shift the balance in either of their favors. Some angels must have noticed that in order for Michael to win, they would need Lord Satantia to make a mistake. So, some lower-ranking angels, those with 4 wings and others with 6, gathered their courage and charged into battle to assist their brother. Underworld, Satantia Mansion. Naruto, after leaving his wife and concubines to rest after they had their fun, he was walking through the hallway of the Satantia Mansion when a picture suddenly fell off the wall. The blonde walked over to it and picked it up. He saw it was a family picture. It was from when he was about 5 or 6 years old. He was sitting on his mother's lap while she was in a chair and his father stood behind them. Naruto didn't know why, but he was getting a bad feeling about something, but he didn't know what it was. The blonde shook his head and continued on to get the training grounds to train. Human world. Things weren't going well for the devil's faction. More and more of them were dying, and the Satans were in combat against God, while the archangels were combating the strongest of clan leaders. Lord Satantia was being overwhelmed by Michael as lower-ranking angels were distracting him by attacking him in a suicidal attack, giving Michael the opportunity to strike. Lady Isha was in the same boat, even when she summoned more of her servants to defend herself against the onslaught of Uriel and the other angels. It was not enough. The Satans didn't call for a retreat, which would have been the smart thing in this situation, as more demons were dying by the second. The fallen angels had long since left the battlefield, leaving only the demon faction and the heaven faction fighting. The lady and Lord Satantia had regrouped together as they fought the enemy angels back to back. For every 1 angel they killed, 2 more took their place, and Michael and Uriel's overwhelming power made it even harder to attack them. Now on the defensive, they could only use barriers and dodge the attack sent their way. As Lord Damien looked over to where the Satans were fighting, he saw Lucifer take a heavy blow, while the others stood on their last legs. He saw them teleport away without calling for a retreat. Lord Damien couldn't believe the satanic army had abandoned the battlefield and fled, leaving them at the mercy of the angels and the biblical god. Lord Satantia gathered his resolve. He looked at his wife and whispered something in her ear. She looked conflicted for a moment before her eyes hardened and she nodded. Lady Isha summoned all of her remaining puppet servants, who numbered in the hundreds. They weren't very strong, but they would provide the necessary distraction for Lord Damien's plan to work. As the angels were destroying Lady Isha's summons, Lord Damien leapt at Michael and Uriel with a loud battle cry and released a slash of darkness from his sword that could cut through dimensions, forcing the angels to dodge it. Underworld. Naruto was summoned to the Lucifer mansion by Lord Lucifuge, who was weeping. It was strange because Naruto hadn't seen Lord Lucifer around. In the last battle, our brave and righteous leader, Lord Lucifer, was badly injured, along with the other Satans. Lord Lucifuge spoke dramatically, saying, "I regret to inform you that the entire army, including Lord and Lady Satantia, were lost." The blonde did not know what to do and was praying that Lord Lucifuge was just messing with him because he saw his comical sad reaction, which he would have laughed at in any other situation. He felt it was true, but something was not right. Naruto left the Lucifer mansion after wishing Lord Lucifer a quick recovery. The blonde teleported back home, not knowing what to do or say when Grafia, Mio, and Maria appeared. They knew something was wrong, but seeing the blonde unable to verbally express it, they just comforted him. The blonde was taken to his bedroom by them and he requested to be alone for the night. They agreed, though they were reluctant to do so considering the blonde's state of distress. He had yet to tell them of his parents' passing. He thought about his parents, his laid-back father who always made him smile, and his strict but caring mother who always showed him love and support. Naruto sat on the edge of his bed as the memories of his parents kept playing in his mind over and over, bringing him to tears. The blonde decided to go into his parents' master bedroom to see if it would bring him any comfort. Inside his parents' bedroom, Naruto could still feel their presence, even though they were dead, lost in happier memories. He didn't notice someone coming up behind him until their arms encircled his waist. Naruto quickly turned around to see his battle-weary mother who looked ready to collapse. The blonde quickly took her in his arms and lifted her up, putting her on the bed while summoning a vial of Phoenix tear and treating her with it. Naruto watched his mother fall asleep from exhaustion, but a sense of relief overtook him as he climbed into the bed beside her, hugging her tightly to himself, happy that she was alive and hoping she could shed some light on why Lord Lucifuge had believed she was dead. Satantia Mansion. In Naruto's parents' bedroom, the blonde sat on the floor as he summoned his wife and two maids, telling them to enter quietly. They saw the sleeping Lady Satantia in her bed and wondered where the lord of the house was, but before they could ask, Naruto told them what Lord Lucifuge had told him the day before. The three were shocked, but Naruto ordered them to keep his mother's survival a secret and to go get some food for her when she woke up. He also told them to prepare a bath for her. Naruto couldn't sleep that night. His mind was racing with various theories about what had happened and he wondered where his father was. The blonde decided to wait until his mother woke up and get the answers from her. About an hour later she started to stir with Naruto by her side, helping her sit up while Mio brought her some water to drink. "Mom, are you okay?" Naruto asked as he held her in his arms. "I will be fine, sweetheart," Lady Isha replied, then her face fell as she recalled the circumstances that had brought her here. Naruto looked at Lady Isha, who was now staring off into space, seemingly lost in thought. "Where is Dad?" he asked. "Your father is dead, he was slain at the hands of the Archangel Michael," Lady Satantia responded in a sad voice as she began to retell everything that had transpired. Flashback. After the Satans forsook their troops to the merciless hands of the heavenly army, the conflict turned into a slaughter. Lord Satantia had devised a strategy for his wife to escape. They were back-to-back fighting off angels. "I have a plan," Lord Damien said, "but I don't believe you're going to like it." "What is it?" Lady Isha asked as she shot a magic bullet at an angel who had tried to get a sneak attack on them when he noticed they were talking. "We are in a tight spot right now and our troops won't be able to prevail," Lord Satantia said grimly. "But one of us can make it out of this alive and it has to be you." "What do you mean by don't be ridiculous?" Lady Isha said. "If I leave here, you will be as good as dead. But if you don't, we are both going to die," Lord Satan said. "There is no need for the both of us to perish. Naruto will need one of us to guide him." Lady Isha remained silent for a few moments, but Lord Damien knew he had won when he mentioned Naruto. The couple hadn't married each other out of love, but due to political reasons, they both respected each other greatly and adored their son above all else. "You're being unfair bringing up Naruto right now," Lady Isha declared as she watched her spouse cut an angel in half. "I know, but I must do what is required to ensure you survive," Lord Satantia replied with a sad smile. "Now, summon all of your puppets and get ready to withdraw." Lady Isha didn't respond, but Lord Satantia knew she would do what must be done. She summoned her puppets and they created disarray on the battlefield. Lord Satantia utilized the chance to strike Michael with a loud battle cry to attract the attention of everyone around. The two adversaries fought until Uriel entered the conflict and Lord Damien was overpowered. The last thing Lady Isha saw before she fled the battlefield was her husband laughing in defiance as his head was sliced off by Archangel Michael. The scene brought tears to her eyes, but once she was far enough from the battleground, she concealed herself in a forest. What most don't know is that the heavenly faction can obstruct teleportation in a certain region. This is one of the reasons her husband and the remainder of the troops couldn't teleport away. The fact that the Satans were able to teleport out of the battleground indicated that they had come up with a way to circumvent the Angels' power to thwart teleportation, but didn't feel it was crucial to train their army to do so as well. The other reason was that if the troops returned, the Satans would more than likely have them executed for leaving the battlefield and keeping the knowledge of their defeat by the biblical god a secret. Lady Satantia stayed hidden until she was sure the heavenly faction had left the area, then she teleported back to the underworld, her home. She entered her bedroom where Naruto was waiting for her. Flashback end. Naruto, Graphia, Mio, and Maria all had varying emotions running through them at this moment. Outrage and sorrow were the strongest among them. Naruto declared in an enraged voice as he paced the room, "I'm going to kill them. The Satans and Archangel Michael. You will do no such thing," Lady Isha said. "Calm down and stop pacing the room." "Calm down? How can I calm down when I just heard father is dead because of some family problems those Satans had with their father?" Naruto screamed, feeling frustrated. "And what are you going to do? Storm into the Lucifer mansion and kill Lord Lucifer, then do the same to the other Satans?" Lady Isha asked. "That is exactly what I am going to do," Naruto stated and was about to leave, but he was stopped by Graphia, who had frozen his feet, and Maria and Mio, who had bound his movements with gravity magic. "What the hell are you doing?" the blonde cried out at the actions they took against him. "I should be asking you that," Graphia responded. "What you're planning will get us all slaughtered. Now, calm down and let us all talk about this." Lady Satantia nodded at Graphia and was glad that her daughter-in-law could keep her son in line somewhat anyway. "You can't kill that Satan," Lady Satantia remarked. "At least not yet." "I disagree. I think I am more than capable of destroying all 4 Satans at once if need be," Naruto replied as he thought about the intense training he put himself through and the results. "That may be, but they are Satans for a reason other than raw power. They are cruel and would do anything to win, even using someone's loved ones against them," Lady Isha declared. "You might be stronger than them, but we are not. If you attack them, they will come for us. There is also the fact that we are in a war with 2 factions, and their deaths would destabilize our own. For now, they need to be kept alive," Lady Isha explained further. Hearing that froze Naruto in place as he was about to put his family in danger, the blonde let out a sigh and nodded, indicating that he had calmed down and would not just attack the leader of the underworld. Naruto was released from the magic restraints, but he looked at his mother's battle-wounded body and instructed Mio and Maria to help her take a bath. They would continue their conversation afterwards, and everyone got something to eat. Lady Isha wanted to protest, but Naruto wouldn't hear of it. With the 3 gone, it was only Naruto and Graphia in the bedroom, while the others were in the bathroom assisting Lady Satantia and getting clean. "What do you think I should do from here?" Naruto asked his wife, unsure of what to do next. His father had just died, and the war seemed to have no end. "I don't know, but we will figure it out together," the silver-haired woman said as she laced her fingers with his. It didn't take long for Lady Isha to finish her bath, and Mio came back with some food and drinks, making sure nobody got wind of Lady Satantia's survival. Lady Isha looked at her son and solemnly informed him of the next step in their plan. "Son, I will not be able to stay here, I must go into hiding," she said. "If the Satans discover my survival, they will stop at nothing to have us all eradicated to keep their humiliating defeat a secret. Yet another reason we have to destroy them completely," the blonde said, but did not move to leave and kill the Satans as they had expected him to do. "We will get our revenge one day, but not today. You are now Lord Satantia," Lady Isha said to her son before turning to Graphia. "And you, my dear, are now Lady Satantia." Graphia was surprised by the declaration, but quickly recovered and nodded to her mother-in-law. Of course, she knew she would be Lady Satantia in the future, but this was way sooner than she had anticipated. "So what do we do from now on when you are in hiding?" Naruto asked his mother, feeling lost. "We will do what we always do," Lady Isha said. "Stay in the shadows and wait for the chance to strike. I will leave here tomorrow, but I will be watching from the shadows and sending back reports on anything that might help us," Lady Isha said, making Naruto sad that he would have to lose her too. The former Lady Satantia saw her son's sorrow, she patted the bed beside her and signaled for him to get on. It was around noon, and she had spent most of her day discussing Satan's treachery. They spent the rest of the day inside the master bedroom just talking about happier times, and soon night came as they all slept in the same bed. It was big enough for at least 20 people to sleep on it comfortably. The next day, Naruto woke up to find his mother was gone and some of her things were missing. She must have slipped out while he was asleep. It was also strange because he had not planned on sleeping at all that night, as he was trying to come up with a plan so his mother wouldn't have to leave. It took the blonde a second to figure out what had happened. His mother must have used some sort of magic to put him to sleep. Something like that wouldn't usually work, but he was so sad and distracted that he didn't notice her doing it. Mio and the others must have known what she was doing by the guilty expressions they had, but they either agreed with Lady Isha's plan or were unable to convince her otherwise. Naruto couldn't find it in himself to be angry at them. Instead, his rage was focused on the Satans and Michiel. The blonde vowed that he would have his revenge on them all, and he would drown them all in eternal darkness. Underworld. Time has flown by so fast. It's been over 300 years since Naruto's father died at the hands of Michael due to the cowardly actions of the Satans and his mother's self-exile to protect him. Many things have changed. He is now the lord of his house, and Grafia is the lady. Mio and Maria are also unofficially his wives, only within the confines of the Satantia estate. Naruto still works with Lord Lucifer to create devil gears, but now he has to consciously suppress his desire to cut him into pieces and set them on fire before pissing on his ashes. But while he couldn't kill Lucifer just yet, the same couldn't be said for Michael. He had been actively hunting the angel wherever he was on the battlefield. Naruto was sure that, if it weren't for the help of the other angels, he would have killed Michael by now. Naruto looked at the pair of angel wings behind him. He had torn them off of Michael himself and mounted them on his office wall. The blonde devil couldn't help but smile evilly when he remembered the look of fear in Michael's eyes, as he was so close to finishing him off, but Gabriel had interfered. She fought him long enough for Michael to escape. Naruto was so enraged that he nearly beat the female angel to near death before she too was saved by her comrades. While Lady Isha was in exile, she sent back intel on all the secret plans the Satans were making. Apparently, they had found the beast of the apocalypse and were trying to wake it up to kill the biblical god, which was insane. There are also issues with the two dragons that are rampaging all over the world. They are slowly becoming a problem for the three factions because they will sometimes appear during their battles against each other and annihilate everyone without care. The Lady Isha's report suggested that there may be a temporary alliance between the three factions to kill the two dragons, then the war would continue. Naruto saw this as a perfect opportunity to get some of the flesh and souls of the dragons. He can use them to empower his devil gear and that of his allies. Grafia stood beside the blonde clan leader as she read the letter from Lady Isha. What do you think about the three factions joining a temporary alliance to get rid of these overgrown lizards? I would usually think it would be a joke, because Lord Lucifer would rather cut off his own tongue than ask the heavens for an alliance. But these dragons are becoming a real nuisance, Grafia replied. She was amused by her husband calling two of the strongest dragons alive overgrown lizards, but that was just how he is. Mio and Maria were doing their daily maid duties, but the blonde would fill them in on what he had learned later. He hated that he couldn't marry them just yet, but the day was slowly approaching when he would. For now the only goal in Naruto's mind is to gain more power while biding his time. The day will come when he will eliminate all the Satans. Flash forward, the three factions had indeed made a temporary truce to eliminate the white and red dragons that were rampaging around the world. At first, the devils didn't want to join forces with the angels and fallen, but the continued interference of the dragons in their battles have made them the most hated beings in all factions. Now here is where Naruto was with his most hated enemy Archangel Michael and Lord Lucifer, coming up with a strategy to subdue and kill both dragons. From our intelligence, the red dragon has the ability to multiply its power and grant it to others, penetrate through any barrier, and possess a powerful flame breath. The white dragon, on the other hand, has the ability to divide power and give it to itself. It can also create barriers to reflect attacks. Its most powerful ability is a poison that can kill even a god. Archangel Michael explained as he went over the dragon's abilities. What troublesome foes, Lord Lucifer replied. But they shall be dealt with. Naruto watched in amusement as the angel tried to get the arrogant Lucifer to take the war more seriously, but failed. The blonde devil looked around the room to find Gabriel looking at him, but turned away when she caught his gaze. He supposed it was only natural for her to fear someone who had nearly killed her. Next to her was Uriel, one of the other angels responsible for his father's death. The biblical god didn't show up, which pissed Lucifer off and was partially the reason he was being so difficult. However, Michael stated that God was busy working on a way to get rid of the dragons and would be present on the battlefield. On the devil's side were Lord Lucifer, Lady Leviathan, Lord Baal and himself Lord Satantia, the fallen representatives being Azazel, Barakiel and Kakabiel. Enough of this nonsense, what are we even doing here? Kakabiel shouted in frustration, furious that the meeting had even taken place. We are here to come up with a plan to eliminate the dragon threat, Azazel replied calmly, but his eyes were sharp, as if warning Kakabiel to tread carefully. I'm talking about this alliance of yours. Kakabiel groaned out. How do you think it is going to ever work? How can we trust each other after being at war for so long? There is no way I am turning my back on a devil or an angel. I agree with the crow, Naruto said, making the fallen glare murderously at him. We can never trust each other, so I think each faction should choose a dragon and slay it themselves. There is only one problem, Blondie, there are only 2 dragons and 3 factions. Azazel replied, trying to get a reaction out of the Satantia. You mean your faction, the weakest of the 3 biblical factions, Naruto stated mockingly. You'll just get in the way. Lord Lucifer and the other devils laughed at what the Satantia said, while the fallen prepared to attack, the angels were at a loss as to what to do. Let's all calm down and talk this through, Michael said, trying to stop the violence from occurring. This alliance isn't going to work, let's separate the dragons, and each faction can choose which one it wants to attack, Naruto suggested, as he wouldn't trust his or his loved ones' safety in the hands of their mortal enemies. As much as it kills me to say this, I agree with the devil, Kakabiel said, looking like he had just sucked on a lemon. The meeting didn't go any further than that, and it was agreed that the angels would attack the white dragon, and the devils the red dragon, while the fallen would attack the white dragon not to help the angels, but they didn't want to be near the devils. Europe, it wasn't hard to find 2 dragons that were warring against each other. As planned, each faction attacked a dragon and separated them from the others. Devil faction vs Red Dragon. Lord Lucifer led the attack against the Red Dragon, which was spitting fire everywhere. The fire was so hot that it incinerated anyone close to it. My lord, I have an idea, Naruto said as he fired a ball of darkness at the dragon, and Lucifer shot it down with hundreds of magic bullets. Is it to use your devil gear to weaken the dragon? Lord Lucifer asked because that was the obvious thing to do. Yes, that is part of it, but I am also seeking to seal part of the dragon's body and soul away in a devil gear. The Satantia replied, making Lucifer intrigued. Do you have a devil gear with you right now? I don't have any, but I can summon some to me right now, the father of devils said as he did just that. He summoned 2 devil gears, one was a spear and the other was a shield. Good, now I will use my devil gear to weaken the dragon, but I need to get a clear hit, so I will need a distraction, Naruto stated, while training with his devil gear. The blonde had quickly figured out that it didn't have the full power of Samuel, as it was only a fraction of his soul and body, so it took time for the curse to work. The avatar for Samuel's soul is a young version of the Dragon Eater with dragon features. He is currently screaming at him to slay the dragon in front of him. Okay, I will summon Lord Baal and Lady Leviathan to draw their attention, Lord Lucifer said, making Naruto scowl inside at his cowardice. The Satantia Lord nodded and began to activate his devil gear. The rings on his fingers glowed and a cursed aura surrounded his hand, forming into purple energy that took the shape of claws. Lord Baal and Lady Leviathan attacked the dragon, with Lady Leviathan transforming into her true form a giant sea serpent that spews a torrent of water at the dragon, which is countered by the dragon's flames. Lord Baal used his power of destruction to help Lady Leviathan push back the dragon fire, and the devil army, which numbered in the hundreds of thousands fire spells, rained magical attacks down on the dragon, attempting to damage its scales and break its defense. The dragon was becoming increasingly annoyed by the bat's attacks, so he boosted his dragon flames and unleashed them on the devil army, reducing it by half in one attack. Naruto was happy that his wife and maids were not part of this mission. Instead, they and others were selected to stay behind to protect the underworld, just in case the other factions had any ideas to use the opportunity to launch a surprise attack. Naruto had fully awakened his devil gear fully and charged it. Using his shadow walk technique, he appeared beneath the red dragon's shadow and pierced it with the Samuel dragon slaying curse. Take that, you overgrown gecko. The blonde devil yelled as his devil gear glowed as the curse took effect. Curse you, what have you done to me, you filthy devil, the dragon said, cursing the blonde. The dragon felt the curse taking effect as his power began to wane, and he found it increasingly challenging to regain his strength. Attack now that the curse is in effect, Naruto shouted as the devils that were still alive attacked the dragon with fury. Spell after spell hit the dragon as it tried to defend itself, but the curse took effect. The dragon used its remaining power to try to protect itself, but it couldn't. In no time it was lying on the ground, defeated. Naruto took out the spear he had obtained from Lucifer and sealed some of the dragon's flesh and soul within it. The Satantia saw the dragon was near death, so he was no longer needed here. He decided to go over to where the fallen angels and pure angels are fighting the white dragons. Fallen and heavenly faction vs White Dragon. Michael, Gabriel, and Azazel faced the white dragon, throwing spears of light at it, but the dragon absorbed their power, causing them to disappear. Gabriel and Uriel were trying to blind the dragon with bursts of light, but it was roaring in defiance, pushing them away with the force behind its roars. Azazel said, I thought you said the big guy was going to be here. The battle was not going their way and it was getting worse. He will be here soon, he's working on something to defeat these dragons. Be patient. Michael replied as he was dodging the dragon's poisonous breath. You will excuse me for saying this, but if he doesn't come here now, we are going to die. Barakiel stated as he launched his holy lightning at the dragon. They were going to argue more, but they felt a chilling aura coming from where the devils were fighting the red dragon. This sent a shiver down everyone's spine, especially the white dragon. The red dragon's aura eventually weakened to the shock of the white dragon that his rival was defeated. This made the dragon attack with a fury, but it stopped and turned towards when it felt the cursed aura approaching. Naruto appeared in the shadow of Gabriel, making her jump away in fright. He looked around at the battlefield, seeing Fulins and pure angels dying or dead all around for what looks to be poison. He noted that the dragon's venom was almost as potent as Samuel's, as it spread across the entire battlefield. "What the hell are you doing here?" Kakabiel demanded as he shot light spears at the dragon's back. "I wanted to see if you killed the giant lizard like we did the red one," Naruto said, getting the white dragon's attention. "Impossible, you devils. You'll never defeat my rival." The white dragon roared. "You must have used some underhanded tricks. We defeated the red gecko, now it's your turn," Naruto replied, causing the dragon to enter a berserk state in rage. The white dragon charged at the blonde, not caring about the attack it was receiving from the pigeon surrounding it. As long as it killed the blonde, it didn't care about anything else. Its pride would allow nothing less. "Ah, you fucking bat." The dragon's deafening roar shook the battlefield. As the white dragon approached the blonde devil in front of it, the blonde popped out of existence showing it was a clone. The white dragon then heard a voice shout "Pierce." It felt its defensive barrier break and a sharp pain as a curse entered its body from behind. In a moment of clarity, the dragon realized his rival had really been defeated by the blonde devil, because the devil had somehow managed to use the red dragon's abilities against him and poison him, which the white dragon found ironic, considering his own venom. The blonde devil leaped off the dragon's back as the dragon's slaying curse took effect, and the white dragon swore to kill the blonde in return. "You are just an oversized lizard, be happy that I wasted my time on you," Naruto said as he sealed the right arm and part of its soul into the devil gear shaped like a shield. The other attacked the dragon as it was still able to use its abilities on them. Then, out of nowhere, a powerful holy aura filled the field, and the dragon disappeared. The battle was over, now all that remained was to take the spoils of war back home. What nobody knew was that Naruto had sealed a piece of both dragons away inside a seal on his body, and not only in the devil gears, because he knew Lord Lucifer would want the devil gears with the two dragons' powers within them for himself. Pre-faction vs Dragon's End. In the end, the red and white dragons were defeated, and the majority of their souls were sealed in sacred gears by the biblical god, while a small piece was sealed in two devil gears by Naruto. Some of the red dragon's body were sealed in sacred gears called twice critical by God, and Naruto secretly stored some of the dragon's bodies away for future research. The blonde gave the new devil gears he created back to Lord Lucifer, to the father of Devil's Joy. He looked ready to name the blood his long-lost son at this point to Naruto's disgust, but he endured it. The soul of Samuel within his devil gear was satisfied for once, though it became bloodthirsty whenever the biblical god was near. The deity must have sensed Samuel within the blonde devil, but said nothing. Now that the dragons had been defeated, the three factions were eyeing one another to determine which was in the weakest position, so that they could attack and eliminate it. "So I guess the alliance ends here," Lord Lucifer said as he was ready to attack the biblical god, but Azazel and Michael came forward. "I think that is enough for today," the fallen leader said. "Let's all go home now and kill each other tomorrow. There has been enough death today, Lucifer," God said in a powerful tone. "We will withdraw for now, and you should do the same. You don't tell me what I can and can't do, old man," Lord Lucifer snapped at God. Michael and the other angels got ready to attack him, and the fallen angels who would no doubt use the opportunity to launch their own attack. Lord Lucifer did the smart thing and backed down for now. "Fine, I will withdraw for now," the father of the devil said, leaving the battlefield. Soon, his army followed suit, and the angels and fallen soon followed the devil example and retreated to recover and fight again another day. Satantia Estate. Naruto was in his secret research room beneath the Satantia mansion. Maria, Mio, and Grafia were there with him as they watched him extract the dragon aura from the remains of the red dragon he had defeated to enhance his devil gear. Grafia and Mio were standing beside him as he worked, while Maria, the little pervert, had decided to pass the time by going under his desk and giving him a sloppy blowjob. They had a heated conversation about their next move since the war had not been going in anyone's favor and was just endlessly continuing. "This should be what we need to end the war and finally get rid of Lord Lucifer and his followers," Naruto stated as he was almost finished adding the dragon power to his devil gear. He had to remove the dragon aura from the piece of dragon flesh and replace it with Samuel power because the dragon eater inside his devil gear wouldn't let him have anything dragon related anywhere near him without going berserk. "Are you sure this is the right thing to do? Many devils might die if you do this, and something goes wrong," Mio said, looking concerned about what the blonde was going to do. "It is unfortunate, but it cannot be avoided. This war must come to an end," the Satantia declared with determination. Slurp 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 slurp. Everyone in the room ignored the sounds coming from below the desk as Naruto let out a grunt, indicating that he had finished. There was a loud gulping sound, letting them all know that Maria had swallowed the load. After his orgasm subsided, Naruto brought his thoughts back to a more serious state. He had come up with a plan to end the war, but for that to happen, the 4 Satans and the biblical god would have to die. The plan was simple, but if it worked out, everything would work out beautifully for him. However, there was a chance that everything could go horribly wrong. Lord Lucifer was attempting to awaken the beast of the apocalypse and failing. Naruto planned to succeed in waking it up and then letting it go berserk. The biblical god would step in as he is the protector of mankind, and the beast is destruction incarnate. The biblical god will be weakened or dead from fighting the beast, and he is certain Lord Lucifer will use that opportunity to launch a full-scale attack, one in which Naruto would make sure the father of devils and the other Satan wouldn't return. No matter how this all plays out, just know we are all in this together. Graphia said while Maria came out from under his desk with a satisfied look on her face, nodded in agreement. The blonde let a smile tug at his lips as he thought about how lucky he was to have such wonderful women by his side. Now that I am finished enhancing my devil gear, you all are next. Naruto said as he was planning to use the dragon's flesh without its dragon aura to enhance his devil gears because Samuel might try to harm them. Fast forward, Naruto was pleased by the progress made by his precious people. Mio's devil gear had been enhanced by the dragon's flesh, allowing her to use flames that could burn even a god, while Maria now possessed the strength and barrier abilities of a high-class being, and Graphia could now mimic the powers of both devils and dragons. But the ability of the red dragon to boost his power and penetrate any defense, coupled with the white dragon's poison and Samuel's curse, he becomes a force to be reckoned with, not to mention his devil magic and chakra abilities. Flashback to Tanchia's training ground. Naruto had infused each of their devil gears with the flesh of the red and white dragons, with the dragon ore removed, and he wanted to test out their abilities on some test dummies and with some wild beasts. Okay, Mio, you're up first. I want you to release your flames on the test dummy in front of you. I put a powerful barrier around it, so it should be a little difficult for your flames to burn through it. Naruto said while he waited for Mio to go to the dummy and release her fire breath. Here I go, Mio stated before taking a deep breath and releasing a sea of white hot flames that incinerated the test dummy in an instant. Wow. Maria exclaimed. That fire burned everything around it and was so hot. Graphia nodded in agreement as she doubted her ice magic could withstand those flames. Meanwhile, Naruto was studying the flames, and they were identical to the red dragon's fire breath, but it used demonic magic, which somehow lessened the power. Not bad. Naruto said as he watched the flame continue to burn everything around it, even things that should not have been able to burn like water and stones. Maria, you are up next, show me what you can do, Naruto said. Watch the little nymphomaniac happily skip in front of them with her maid's outfit that had a skirt that was too short that let all see she is not wearing underwear. Naruto shook his head for a moment before he sealed all the flames away so they wouldn't spread. He focused his attention back on Maria as she summoned her devil gear and punched a dummy so hard that the part of it that was hit disintegrated. Well, that happened, Naruto stated in shock as all the dummies had high-class barriers around them and Mario punched through the barrier as if it weren't there. The blonde concluded that both Mio and Maria, with their devil gears, were Satan-class devils, meaning they could take on lower-class gods, high-class dragons, and angels with 6 wings comfortably. That was amazing, now let me see what you can do, the blonde Satantia said as he watched her wife use her devil gear located on her chest. Okay, here I go, Graphia replied as she activated her devil gear, which basically allowed her to copy the powers of devils. She used the power of darkness. It doesn't seem like you gained any abilities from the dragon flesh. Do you feel anything different about your devil gear? Naruto asked. Now that you mention it, I feel something coming from your research room. Graphia stated she felt confused because she only got that feeling when she was around devils with clan abilities. Naruto then remembered what was in his lab that wasn't there before. Wait here, he said as he went to his research room and came back with the remaining flesh of the red and white dragons. Instantly, Graphia began copying the dragon's powers by boosting her own, wielding fire in one hand and poison in the other. It would seem you have the power to copy dragon's abilities now. You were not able to copy the abilities directly from us because we only possess the dragon's abilities, not the dragon aura, which basically means we took the dragon's abilities and made it devil abilities. Naruto explained, feeling happy that his little family will be able to protect themselves if he wasn't there. Flashback end. Naruto was assigned a mission by Lord Lucifer himself to attack a human village in order to draw the angels to him. Meanwhile, the father of demons had his other generals attack other human settlements. The plan was simply to stretch out the angels' attention with the attacks so that he and the other Satan can corner the biblical god and eliminate him. Naruto was amused by what Lord Lucifer was doing, since he was sure that the father of devils knew that the beast of the apocalypse awakened and the biblical god sealed the beast away and hid it. The power needed to seal the beast had left the god weakened. Lord Lucifer must be thinking now was the time for them to act. What Lord Lucifer didn't know was the blonde was the one that partially awakened the beast by entering its mind, which was almost non-existent. The beast was one driven by the pure instinct to destroy everything. Naruto's presence in its mind forced it to wake up. The Satantia was tempted to take a sample of the beast's flesh, but after feeling how corrupted it felt, she didn't think it would be wise. Flashback, unknown location human world. From his mother's report, she somehow managed to find out where the beast of the apocalypse was located by having one of her servants track Lord Lucifer's movements. The former Lady Satantia had also stated that the Lord Lucifer had started calling the beast Trihixer 666. As the Lord Satantia got closer to the beast's location, he started to feel like he was in the presence of Kurama when he first met him in his past life, only 1,000 times worse. What is this? Naruto asked himself as he examined the beast's body. It looked like a combination of different races and animals, but it wasn't its appearance that made it intimidating, it was its foul corrupted aura. Naruto started having second thoughts about awakening such a monster, but things were already out of control. The war would never end, and the Satans would continue to throw away the lives of innocent devils, all in the name of their petty revenge. Here goes nothing, the blonde said as he got into a meditation position and placed his hand on one of the beast's large heads. He drifted into its mind. Inside Trihixa's mind, within his mind was a void of darkness with no light in sight. Had he not been a devil who could see in the dark or a Satantia who wielded the power of darkness, he would have panicked. The blonde looked around and felt the presence of the pure intent to destroy everything. He found a source of light after a few minutes. He found it to be a being made of light. It was a young boy, or at least appeared to be one, with wings of various animals from bats to dragons. Naruto watched the beast in wonder at the amount of power he felt coming from it. It was unlimited and reminded him of the 10-tailed beast. For a moment, Naruto thought about taking a piece of the beast's power, but quickly shot down the idea because if he did so, he might lose himself to the corrupting force of that power. Now how do I go about awakening this thing? The blonde thought as the being that looked like a boy started to stir, feeling an intruder in its mind. Trihixa's head snapped towards the blonde, and Naruto saw its eyes are pitch black. The only thought that came to his mind was, oh fuck my life. And with that, the beast attacked. Outside Trihixa's mind, Naruto awakened with a jolt. He had been battling 666 within his mind for hours, but he was sure only minutes had passed outside. The blonde would have liked to say he was able to defeat the beast, but really the battle was more like him dodging the beast's attacks while trying to land strikes of his own. His devil gear was a huge help with its upgrades. He was able to boost his power and use his poison curse, along with his darkness and chakra abilities, to avoid and injure the beast that made it even more enraged. From what the blonde felt from Trihixa's aura, it was about to awaken soon, and he didn't want to be anywhere close to it. With that, he teleported away as a powerful holy aura appeared. Flashback end. As the blonde left the beast's location, he felt a holy aura. The biblical god must have sensed that Trihixa was awakening, so the leader of heaven teleported there. Naruto concluded that God must have used a powerful ability to keep it asleep and move it elsewhere. Now the biblical god was weaker than he had ever been, and it would take time for him to recover. Lord Lucifer was going to use this opportunity to eliminate his father, but with luck, they would both kill each other. On a different note, one problem he sometimes faces is that the Pillar clan members think that he, being an extra-dimensional demon, has no right to command them, since they are some of the most important demons in the underworld. So I hate dealing with those Pillar devils, they always think they're better than everyone else. Naruto said. Flashback. Naruto met with the heads of several Pillar clans, who were his direct subordinates in this war, to go over the battle plans with them. Usually, they had to come to him so he could brief them, but they seemed to be ignoring his summons, so he had to go see what the problem was. These trips were always the same. The pillar head would be an arrogant prick who thinks he's above taking orders from anyone, let alone someone from an extra demon clan. Never mind the fact that he was given the position by Lord Lucifer himself. Naruto had to discipline those that tried to rebel against him. As of right now, he was in the Astaroth mansion. Naruto was sitting across from Lord Astaroth, a handsome man with black hair and eyes, with his beautiful wife beside him, a sexy green-haired and eyed woman with large an ass. Lord Astaroth, is there a reason you've been ignoring my repeated summons? Naruto asked, genuinely curious to see what the prick across from him would say. Why do I have to answer to you, an inferior devil from an inferior demon clan? Lord Astaroth replied as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Be that as it may, it was put in charge by Lord Lucifer himself, so if you have a problem with the chain of command, talk to him about it. The blonde Satantia said, watching in amusement as Lord Astaroth's face flushed with various emotions, ranging from anger, fear, and pride. There is no need to involve Lord Lucifer in this, as it goes without saying, someone of your status shouldn't be in control. The Lord replied, turning his nose up at the blonde. Naruto just looked at the idiot and then focused on Lady Astaroth, who was a little bit more than a trophy wife. She hadn't said anything since he got here, but just looked between him and her husband nervously. I'm sorry you feel that way, but that's not my problem. This is how it's going to go, you either fall in line or I am going to put my foot up your ass and fuck your wife. Naruto stated, making Lord Astaroth jump out of his seat, enraged, but funnily enough, Lady Astaroth had a blush on her face, and Naruto could swear she was rubbing her legs together. Now, you low-class piece of trash, how dare you threaten me? Lord Astaroth shouted as he prepared to attack Naruto. Naruto just smirked as they clashed. Fast forward, Naruto stood in front of the now destroyed Astaroth mansion, with Lord Astaroth knocked out on the ground, and his servants kept their distance. Naruto turned to Lady Astaroth and said, "My lady, I will be taking my leave now. When your husband wakes up, make sure to let him know if he doesn't stop his rebellious actions, I will report it to Lord Lucifer." Naruto turned to leave, but he felt a small, soft hand grab his wrist. Naruto turned around to find the trembling Lady Astaroth holding his wrist. "You said you would fuck me after you defeated my husband," she said softly. "If you don't go through with your threat, my husband won't listen to you." Naruto watched Lady Astaroth in amusement, he had long since figured out that she was shaking not from fear, but from arousal. Her strong feminine scent was also too overpowering to ignore. "So what are you saying, Lady Astaroth? Do you want me to throw you on the ground and take you over and over again while your husband and all of your servants watch?" Naruto asked as he saw her shudder at his words, her love juices flowing down her legs from the orgasm she had from the mere thought of the blonde's words alone. "I will not submit to a brute like you," Lady Astaroth said, trying to sound like a victim, even though it was clear she was begging to be fucked like the whore she was. Naruto left the Astaroth mansion with the panties that Lady Astaroth was wearing, and with Lord Astaroth's word that he would answer any future summons from him. The clan head was much more cooperative after he was beaten to near death, and his wife was fucked in front of him, while he was helplessly watching it happen. Naruto could only shake his head as he hadn't planned on actually fucking Lady Astaroth, but after he knocked her husband out, she insisted that he had to go through with his threat or they wouldn't follow his orders. It would seem Lady Astaroth was a slut who loved powerful men, and the fact that Naruto had beaten her husband senseless turned her on so much that she agreed to keep an eye on her husband for any future insubordination. The visit to the other Pillar clan house was almost the same as the one to Astaroth, except he didn't fuck their wives, but his did have to beat the living shit out of the prideful clan heads. Flashback end, Underworld. There stood the blonde, fully armored as Graphia, Mio, and Maria were by his side. He had the nobles Amon, Barbados, Pruffles, and Astaroth, who were all begrudgingly his direct subordinates in front of him, along with their legions of devils, as they prepared for what everyone assumed would be the final battle in this seemingly never-ending war.